They don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them.
Think for yourself. Question authority. This code has been compromised.
All right, welcome back, Truth Seeker. It is Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. Time flies. I mean, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, we're already almost to the midway point of the year, and it seems like the year just started. In fact, it seems like last year just started. But anyway, been missing the show, been gone for the last 2 Wednesdays because we've been traveling. Of course, we went down to Oklahoma City for the April 19th anniversary of the federal building bombing, which of course was a federal cover-up, a crime against humanity, taxpayer dollars spent in the most evil way possible. And if you haven't seen any of the coverage from being down in Oklahoma City, I got quite the I got quite the greeting when I got to the Oklahoma City bombing memorial. I was actually very surprised. As I approached the front doors of the museum, I was greeted by the security guard with the question, "Are you Zach Hubbard?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he immediately went hands-on and grabbed me by both shoulders and tried to push me backwards and said I needed to be off the grounds. And I stood my ground and tried to reason with him as I pulled out my cell phone and began recording so people could see what was happening. And then next thing I knew, I had 3 security guards essentially pushing me off the premises. But if you haven't seen that little confrontation there, what was captured of it is on video. And the thing is, after that happened, I did come back to the museum a little bit later to see if I could get my way in to experience the museum. And, they never let me in, but I did get to talk to one of the security guards, and he kind of apologized, and he said, "Look, I'm just doing my job. I'm doing the best I can." And I got him to think about, is that what's wrong with America? People just doing their job even if they know it's wrong? But I know that he definitely found the YouTube channel, and he did admit that the work was pretty interesting, and maybe I was right. So anyhow, we had a really great time in Oklahoma City. I'd say in the week I was there was about 100 truth seekers that came through. The biggest gathering, of course, was on April 19th. We were also kept out of the memorial, the entire group, by the police. They didn't want us anywhere near the festivities, possibly, shedding light on what really happened that day. But it was a great experience. It was a great experience for so many people to come together with the common purpose of speaking truth, looking for real justice, exposing darkness. And again, there's unfortunately, some of the content from those days has been taken down by big tech. We know how much they hate the truth. But there is still a lot of that content online on different people's channels who gathered there. And again, it was just a really nice experience for people to come together, have a common purpose, have great conversations. And the beautiful thing that happened with the gathering was, people were wondering what our group was about. Our group was very diverse, all ages, all backgrounds, all colors. And it was hard to tell exactly what we were about because we weren't carrying any flags or any common symbols. So just a lot of people that saw us as a group wanted to come up and interact with us and find out what we were about. And just so many amazing conversations were had. There was a small group of people who were moving together from Arkansas, and they said, "Wow, what a synchronicity!" Because one of the women in their group was just talking about how there's something more to numbers than we know, and then she came across us with the, plenty of people in the group were sharing the gematria knowledge, and she was just mind blown by the synchronicity of being at Oklahoma City and then learning this information and just having a conversation with her friends about there being something more to numbers than we understood. And I once had the same kind of questions and thoughts, and after years of research, finally found what I was looking for. But yeah, if you guys missed out on the Oklahoma City gathering, what I've said is I think this should become an annual thing. This year about 100 people came out. And that's not bad. I mean, it's nowhere near what we need to change the world. But I imagine that if we keep spreading the knowledge, if we keep coming together year after year, the numbers will grow and possibly at some point exponentially. And I was saying, this year it was 100. If we advertise it all year for the next year, maybe next year there's 1,000 people, maybe even more. Who knows, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, there's 1 million people gathered, and that creates the spark in the world to wake people up to truly the evil that's taking place. And again, what the American people really need to think about, and truly the people of the world, because this kind of stuff's going on all over the world, but what we need to think about is how our tax dollars, from our labor and our hours and our sweat and our grind, our money that the government takes, they really are using that money to build buildings for the sake of blowing them up, which they're also spending our money on the explosives, and then they're spending our money on the cover-up, and they're spending our money on the news media propaganda to steer the narrative, and then they're spending our money to start illegal wars, and then the politicians who are behind these crimes, we're paying for their security. I mean, you think about a guy like Bill Clinton, who was the president at the time, who the whole ritual was synced up with. He's been out of office since 2001, but for the last 20-some years, he's had a fleet of Secret Service all around him, protecting him at all times on our dime. And I mean, these are some of the most evil, cruel people in the world, and we're spending literally millions upon millions of dollars per year to keep them safe and protected. This is why there needs to be a revolution, you guys. I mean, this is why the world has to change. We are literally slaving away for our own demise, paying the bill for evil. And I got a comment on things that just blew my mind from being at the Oklahoma City site and just seeing it with my own eyes. When I walked around the side of the memorial, what's amazing is what's on the campus is the oldest Masonic lodge in Oklahoma City history. And it's directly behind the memorial building. On the building, it has the nice architecture, the pillars. It says Masonic Temple. And what's interesting is that in the lobby of the building, which also has office space, there's a sculpture when you come in called Bloodline, and it has people in it, and there's 42 people in it. And of course, in Gematria, both Freemason and Jesuit are 42. Again, modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation. Think of this nation's history. Washington, D.C., where Georgetown is, the first Jesuit university in the nation, named after the Freemason George Washington. So again, Jesuits and Masons. D.C., the university. You can go right to this campus, where the memorial is. Right across the street is a Catholic church. And, of course, the Jesuits served the Catholic Church. The Jesuits got the nice buildings, thus the Masons, the builders. But what's funny, I didn't even catch this while I was down there, but shout out to Richie Rich. He left a great comment. He said, Zach, did you notice that Masonic temple that you saw on the backside of the campus, it was sold in 1945 to a man named Joe D. Morris for $201,000. And this figure is quoted on the Wikipedia page. It's quoted on the Masonic History of Oklahoma City. It's the same $201,000 figure all over the place. And of course, if you as long as you're not new here, you know what stands out about that price: $201,000. Of course, April 19th, the day the Oklahoma City Federal Building blew up. That's the day in history Ignatius of Loyola became the first superior general of the Jesuits. And, of course, in Gematria, Ignatius of Loyola equals 201, like the Jesuit order. And again, the name Timothy McVeigh, who's accused of doing the bombing, Timothy McVeigh's 201. So is the name of his accomplice, Terry Lynn Nichols, another 201. It happened on a Wednesday. Wednesday is named after Mercury. Mercury is the only element on the periodic table that has an atomic mass of approximately 201. And Timothy McVeigh was arrested in a Mercury Marquis, which also equals 201. He supposedly carefully plotted to not get caught, but then he drove on the federal interstate without a license plate, which really doesn't make any sense. And then all the more mind-blowing, and again, this is the power of people coming together. A gentleman named Paul showed up for our group. He came with his wife, Desiree, and they had 2 more 201 contributions for the ritual. If you look, a man was put to death by the state the day that the Oklahoma City building blew up, and part of the reason he was put to death is because he plotted to blow up the building in 83, the very same building, and his name was Richard Snell, which equals 201. And he's connected to the organization that supposedly radicalized Timothy McVeigh at the camp in Arkansas. Of course, Bill Clinton, who was the president at the time, from Arkansas. But the man who founded that camp in Arkansas, his name was Robert G. Millar. That's how he goes by, Robert G. Millar. Of course, G like the Masons, right? But Robert G. Millar is also 201. So you have all these 201s. The superior general of the Jesuits of the time, how do you say his name? Peter Hans Kollenbach or whatever it is. From his birthday to the day Oklahoma City blew up was 20 weeks in one day. 20 weeks in one day from his birthday to the explosion. And again, just the same number all throughout history. All the parallels from Oklahoma City to 9/11, where there were 2 towers and then 0 and then 1. But again, just to find out that even the Masonic temple on the campus sold for $201,000. And again, you think Masonry, you think 33. They put Timothy McVeigh to death at age 33. And the man who was the Archbishop of Oklahoma City at the time, from his birthday to the explosion was also exactly 33 weeks. And that is 231 days. The name Ignatius of Loyola equals 201 when you run the alphabetic order forwards. It equals 231 when you run the alphabetic order in reverse. And so, big 201 ritual, 231 days after the Archbishop of Oklahoma City's birthday. And 231 should remind you of Georgetown's birthday. Georgetown, where Clinton went, established 23/1. That's also where Keating went, the governor at the time. And something that, just from coming together and being on the ground and doing more research, just so many more connections we made. Bill Clinton, right before he took office, the news came out about his sex scandal with Jennifer Flowers. And that news broke on Georgetown's birthday, January 23rd, 92. And Jennifer Flowers was from Oklahoma City. So the sex bombshell before the bomb went off at Oklahoma City. And what else is funny is that news broke 9 months and 11 days before Bill Clinton was elected president. The 93 World Trade Center bombing happened as soon as he became president. 9/11 happened the year that he left office, and George W. Bush, who also went to Yale, replaced him. Again, Clinton and Hillary both went to Georgetown and Yale. And let's not forget Skull and Bones is another 201, like R.I.P. Paul Walker, who was in the Skulls about Skull and Bones at the time Clinton transitioned to Bush. That movie came out 201 days after his birthday. But yeah, it's amazing how synced up the rituals are. And if I didn't finish the thought either, the name Jennifer Flowers in Gematria equals 86. Oklahoma City building blew up on her 86th day of her age. And she was 44 at the time, which is the military kill number, and it's obvious it was a military operation. Not to mention Timothy McVeigh, the patsy, is military, and they call a military personnel file a 201 file. But then just the other thing that blew my mind from being at the site, I noticed that the AT&T building overlooks where the bomb went off, and I looked it up. That AT&T building was established in 1927, which means it turned 68 in 95, the year it blew up. And of course, in 1968, AT&T made 911 the national emergency dialing code. And remember, the Oklahoma City building bombing blew up 68 days after the governor's birthday. Timothy McVeigh was inspired by the author born on September 11th who wrote the Turner Diaries, who died at age 68. Patriots Day is what day it happened on, the same day the American Revolutionary War began, and not arbitrarily. It's because the Jesuits have controlled this nation from the beginning, and that's Ignatius Loyola Day. And again, the Jesuits are a military order. But Patriots Day is 68. And again, Timothy McVeigh, his federal trial was in Denver, the 68 city. Funny, if you're traveling I-25 south, the first mileage readout to Denver is 68 miles to Denver, and Denver equals 68, and the judge who oversaw the trial, shout out to Daria who caught this in the gathering. Again, just people coming together, just more observations. Daria saw that, the judge who oversaw McVeigh's trial, born on June 8th, 6'8", and Timothy McVeigh, born in 68, just like Muhammad Atta, the lead hijacker on 9/11. And again, 911 made the emergency dialing code in 68, and World Trade Center construction began in 68. So many agendas went into motion in 68. The memorial or the statue that's in tribute to the explosion put up by the Catholic Church across the street is titled "And Jesus Wept," which equals 68. And, it's right down the street from where JFK was killed in Dallas, Oklahoma City. Interstate 35 connects both the spot where JFK was killed, number 35, and Oklahoma City on the 35th parallel, when, of course, Catholic is 35, Holy See's 35, Jesuitism's 35. But, again, you have this knowledge, and then you go see it with your own eyes, and you just see everything that's right there. It's just so obvious. Everything is hidden in plain sight. And what's funny is where JFK was assassinated, in Dallas, guess what building overlooks that? The AT&T building, which is headquartered out of Dallas. And it's funny that Dallas equals 41, like AT&T's 41, like Dallas established in 1841, like 9/11 happening on a date with 41 numerology. We're talking about 68 and 41. The word terror has gematria 68 and 41. Al-Qaeda 41, Saudi Arabia 41. Remember, Al-Qaeda supposedly bombed the USS Cole, and that boat's named after a man whose name equals 68. And the boat was fully commissioned on June 8th, 6/8. And what's funny is it was first put out to sea on February 10th, 95, 68 days before the Oklahoma City building bombing. And again, the point I'm trying to make is all of these things are scripted ritual encoded in the Kabbalistic language of letters and numbers. And 68's the number of terror. Let's not forget 9/11 happened on Bush's 68th day of his age. George W. Bush, who graduated from Yale and Skull and Bones in 68. But again, you just look at all these events. The Al-Qaeda bombings in Eastern Africa have 68 encoded all over them. The USS Cole has 68 encoded all over it. Oklahoma City, 68. 9/11, 68. The history of the world wars is all 68. And again, these numbers connect to terrorism, and they connect to the Catholic Church. And it should remind you that the original definition of terrorism is government by intimidation. And it should remind you that before there was government, there was the church, the Catholic Church that governed over all of Europe, which caused so many people to flee that land and create a new land, which was supposed to be America, where there's separation of church and state. But what I'm trying to tell you is we don't have separation of church and state. Remember, the CIA has 201 encoded in its name, and it was established 201 days over the Pope's birthday. And it's, they even tell you in the story of Al-Qaeda that it was originally funded by the CIA. And again, it's just so obvious that all of these things are government operations. We're paying the tab for it. We're being terrorized for it. We're paying for our own demise. And, we're late in the game. It's 2022. There hasn't been justice for Oklahoma City for now 27 years. There hasn't been justice for 9/11 for over 20 years. There hasn't been justice for a lot of things that happened before that for an even longer period of time. And at some point, humanity has to flip on a switch and say, enough's enough. We see the game. We got the knowledge. We know who's pulling the strings. Let's do something about it. And again, for all the people out there with the defeatist attitude, you got to drop that attitude. you know? If you would have been in Oklahoma City, even though it was a small gathering, you would have felt the inspiration and the possibility and the hope. And again, it's just going to take the same type of gathering with the same type of intent, but just in bigger numbers. And what could be sparked off in Oklahoma City could be sparked off in a number of other places on key anniversary dates around the world where other similar tragedies have been waged by governments against their people and blamed on boogeymen or patsies. And you know what's amazing is Lee Harvey Oswald was removed from the military on September 11th. Did you know that? It's funny how just the same dates just always come up. The Columbine shooters, one of them was born on 9/11. In their journals, supposedly they fantasized about hijacking planes and flying them into towers. Again, the author who inspired Timothy McVeigh is born on September 11th. Again, it's just so obvious that all of these are cooked up narratives and stories. And again, I mean, people should be able to see through it at this point, especially when you compile it the way we are doing and getting better at by the day. Just to show you something else that's interesting, I keep thinking about like what else can be investigated. I think I stuck it right here. The Archbishop at the time in Oklahoma City, his name was Mr. Beltran, and okay, so this is interesting. The name of the building that's been assigned to the old Masonic temple is now called the Heritage. And that's an interesting name because it equals 191, like Oklahoma City equals 191, like Society of Jesus equals 191. And when the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building blew up, it was 191 days before the anniversary of the birthday of Mr. Alfred P. Murrah. And Richard Wayne Snell, as we talked about, Richard Snell in reverse is 201. His full name, Richard Wayne Snell, forwards is 191. And remember, 191 and 201 come together a lot. A great example is Beau Biden. He died 201 days before the Pope's birthday and 191 days after Joe Biden's birthday. Of course, he died at age 46 before Joe Biden became number 46. And again, he had the same Jesuit priest do the funeral for Beau and the inauguration for Joe on 20/1 like 201, and his name was Leo Jeremiah O'Donovan for another 201. But the Archbishop, when the building exploded, it was 19 weeks and 1 day before his upcoming birthday as well. And, again, I mean, it's just, you look at it from every angle. It's connected to the Superior General. It's connected to the Archbishop. The only one I forgot to tell you is we were going through the long list of 68s with Oklahoma City. It blew up on the Pope's 337th day of his age, the 68th prime number. And that should remind you that the letter about 3 world wars written by Albert Pike was dated on the 337th birthday of the Jesuit order, August 15th, 1871, where again, 337 is the 68th prime, and World War I started on a 68 date numerology, so did World War II, and the latest military conflict in Russia-Ukraine began on a 68 date numerology as well. So, again, I mean, I'm amazed at how many people watch videos and still leave comments like, it's not the Jesuits are just one of many factions. It's just like, okay, person who leaves that comment, instead of leaving that comment, show me then who these other parts that are the tip of the spear are. Because, again, when every major ritual is perfectly synced with the Pope and the Superior General and the Catholic leadership in the community, as we show time after time, again, you can't just leave a comment like, oh, it's not them. Oh, no, it's Israel. It's like, it's Israel. I'm showing you things before Israel even existed, not to mention Israel's another big 201 ritual. You guys, it is the Catholic Church and the Jesuits. Get it through your head. We have all the evidence here. It's undeniable. And if all you can do is just deny it because you want to deny it because you're used to blaming Jews or whatever it is that you're used to doing, again, I get so tired of just like how dumb and dense people are. No, it's not that. And then they don't have another sentence. Okay, so then what is it? It's like, please just shut up then. If you don't have anything to say besides then just don't say anything. Because you don't have anything besides your cognitive dissonance and you're denying of facts and mountains of evidence. Again, people need to recognize who's behind the evil and it's clear as day, it's the Catholic Church and the Jesuits. That's why they're always doing things on Ignatius Loyola Day, on their birthday. Remember when Afghanistan's government collapsed on the Jesuits' birthday? Remember the year before when Donald Trump, who's Jesuit educated, his brother just kicked the bucket on the Jesuit birthday? You know what I mean? Remember when Hugh Hefner, who's known for that red and black, died on the day the Jesuits were recognized by Rome, and then a few days later there was a massive 201 shooting ritual in Las Vegas, which we predicted all year there would be on that date? You know what I mean? Same numbers, same patterns, same rituals, same specific dates. And again, I mean, we got all the evidence here for the open and shut case. We just need the people of the world to recognize it, get behind it, help spread the word, help spread the knowledge, and then we need to do something about it. Everyone should be outraged about this. Essentially, if you're someone who doesn't care about this, hold on, am I going into the commercial break here? I'm rusty because I haven't done the show in 2 weeks. We are about to come up on the commercial break. But what I was going to say is, again, if you're someone that is just fine with paying your taxes and being lied to and allowing your tax dollars to be spent on needless war and killing and murder, I mean, you are part of the problem. You're part of the evil. You are part of the evil. And I get tired of all the morons, too, saying that I'm a shill. Again, has anybody else put in tens of thousands of dollars into the truth community? Has anyone else given away tons of merchandise, free books, pounded payment nonstop? I mean, again, a lot of you guys need to stop, pull your head out of your ass, wake up, get behind what we're trying to do here, and help shut down the real evil. Stop saying people are evil because they say the earth isn't flat. Oh, my God, he said the earth's not flat. He's evil. Guess what? The same Jesuits gave you your flat earth psyop. We'll be right back here after the commercial break. Sit tight. I don't hear the commercials, so we're here, but I'll wait until the commercial break is over, just so the people listening on TFR can hear Rambo. Of course, we're gonna go to Rambo next, but looks like it's one of these nights where. But that's weird. I just heard the outro music. Normally, when the outro music's going, the commercials are going. So anyway, awkward silence here for a minute and a half, but we'll be back, and. I guess during the awkward silence, let's shout out the people in the chat who I recognize that were at Oklahoma City. Of course, Daria's there, always doing a great job with contributions. Of course, yeah, right, the Matrix was there. There might be some people in the chat whose YouTube handles I still don't recognize, but let's see. That might be all we have in there right now, but there were a number of good people there, so... And by the way, tonight, if you've called in, I hope you were at Oklahoma City. Again, I would like to hear from the people who were at Oklahoma City. So if you were not at Oklahoma City and you're called in and waiting in line, I wouldn't mind if you disconnected and called back another time, because tonight I really want to hear from the Oklahoma City people and just get their feedback on it. And yeah, it's not that I don't want to hear from the rest of you. It's just, and if we don't have, if the line ends up opening up and the people who came out to Oklahoma City don't want to call in, that was funny to find out about Oklahoma City, is that a lot of the people who were there are people who don't comment at all, don't call into TFR. I was actually amazed. I would have thought it would have been more of the super dedicated commenters and callers, but it was a lot of people that I didn't even know were out there. A lot of beautiful faces, all ages. just laughing at troll comments right now. Sorry. Sometimes the trolls are funny. Is RPM Vietnam in the chat? I didn't see his account, but yeah, if he's in the chat, he was absolutely there. I hope we hear from him tonight. I have to connect with him because he's very well spoken. He's got a great mind, speaks very well, very persuasive message. Good example for a lot of people. They need to hear from people like RPM Trey Vietnam. I didn't really ask him where he got that name from, so. All right, hold on. The music's back. We just don't have commercials. Okay. Yeah, things are a little bit goofy tonight. We don't have commercials. The music's on a shorter thing than it's supposed to be, but I think we'll get through the show. As per always, we're going to go to Rambo at this time slot, and then the rest of the night I hope to hear from the Oklahoma City callers. And, hey, Rambo, how do you feel about September 11th, 2022 for the next gathering? Uh-oh. Why can I not hear Rambo? Uh-oh. Well, we have some kind of weird glitch going on because I can see that Rambo's talking, but I can't hear it. I can tell that he's talking because it makes like a red thing when somebody's voice is going. Rambo, stay right there. I'm going to go to the next caller just to see if I can hear them. Houston, Texas, can you hear me? Okay, that's the same problem right there. Houston, one more time. Well, that's just too bad. We had 2 weeks of no show because of travels, and now we're back, and now we're having a glitch night. Rambo, why don't you call me on my, I'm sure you can hear me. Rambo, why don't you give me a call on my actual phone number since you have it? And we'll do your call that way tonight. I'm just trying to think. Okay, Rambo hung up, so I'm sure he'll call me here in a minute. But yeah, this is a bummer. I was hoping it would be a flawless show. I've never seen it before, though, where the music works and then the commercials are out and then the call board's not working. This is new territory. Normally they're all out together or they're all on together. So, Here, while I wait on Rambo's call, let's just try one more person just in case. Oh, no, Rambo's calling in. All right, Rambo. Welcome back. Let me change the audio set. Okay. All right. We should hear you now. How you doing, Rambo?
Oh, I'm great. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Is there any way for you to make your volume louder?
No. I mean, this is it's voice over internet, and
okay.
I don't know. I can.
It'll work.
Okay, I'll kind of I guess sort of yell a little bit.
Sure. We don't want to wear out the vocals, but I was asking you, what do you think about a gathering like Oklahoma City on September 11th, 2022 in New York?
Yeah, the energy looked good in Oklahoma City, and I'd imagine in a big city like New York, there'd be a larger turnout. And yeah, September 11th is a central event that so much is connected to.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Is that an event you could make it to?
I should be able to. I mean, at this moment in time, I don't anticipate anything preventing that. But yeah, at this moment in time, I'd say yes, absolutely. I could make it to that.
Okay. Then the mystery will be all gone. Rambo in the flesh. But yeah, it falls on a Sunday this year, so that should help people get there as well because it's the weekend. So.
Yeah.
Does New York make you pay for street parking on a Sunday?
Parking in New York City is it's a nightmare. The best thing to do, most likely, is to find a parking lot and pay
to take the train.
No, just pay, if you want to park in the city, if you can ahead of time maybe scope out parking lots. They make a lot of money parking lots. You can maybe find a parking lot to park in.
What's the going rate for all-day parking in New York? Is it like $50 a day?
It might be something like that. Since I don't park in New York. I've never actually done it.
I'll figure it out.
The New York Caller, but you can look it up. Yeah, that would be your best bet. Or you can, yeah, you just scope for parking and maybe just take the subway. Most people, they commute by subway more than anything else. So maybe just scope out different parking prices and maybe take the subway to the event. There are different options like that.
Okay. Ben was saying get a hotel in New Jersey and take the subway to New York, so maybe that's the smart way to do it.
I agree. I think that is very smart. Yeah, so it's much more convenient. Like, yeah, things do like finding a place to park. Yeah, or finding a motel close to transportation, so you can just park at your motel or hotel. Yeah, I think that's very good advice by Ben. I think that's very good advice.
All right. Well, with that said, we've been waiting for you for 3 weeks. I've been missing you. Well, what's on your mind today?
Yeah, thanks for the shout out. I heard you mentioning, how about the Tridents and Ideally Plaza. So thanks for the shout outs there.
Have you been to Dallas before?
No, I've never been to Dallas. No.
That was my first time there, but man, the Trident's really on display. You can't miss it. So you were dead on about that.
Yeah, you notice it once it's in your conscience, but it's amazing how so often there are things right in front of us that we don't notice. Like then once you're aware of it, suddenly it's right there. It's right in front of you. Like you weren't aware of it the whole time. And I think there are plenty of other things that for a lot of us are right in front of us, but we don't realize it until we become conscious of it.
Indeed.
Yeah. So my decode today is really a subject. I was actually trying to stay away from it, but so many people have asked me to decode it, and I was really trying to stay away from it. It's the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case because it's so. I find it very adolescent, but I mean it's I don't know, for the people involved. Okay, yes, the emotion is the trauma in relationships. Okay, I'm not diminishing that, but the public doesn't need to hear or see this. This is like it's voyeuristic, and I don't know. It's like watching reality television. I was trying to stay away from it, and it's just like back and forth bickering. And they divorced back in like 2017. So why are we talking about this in 2022? They were already divorced.
I love their official date of divorce, January 13th, 113. When divorce is 113, the number of dishonesty. And again, divorce. You're technically breaking your vows. But have you seen the work I did on this trial?
No, actually, I was trying to stay away from it.
Well, good. Okay, good. I'm glad you haven't, because I'm gonna see what you take away from it. It'll be funny to see what overlap we have here. Okay, I'm ready for it. I'm listening.
Okay, yeah, I look at what you have, but I know there's so much demand from the community, and it's understandable. Why? Because they just won't. I got somebody on my Patreon who lives outside the United States, who doesn't live in a English-speaking country. Even over there, it's every day. It's in everybody's face. It's in the newspapers every day with all the things that are going on in the world. Like they talk about a potential World War III, or all these crises going around. Food plants all going on fire. China on lockdown, which is all these things going on, and this is being shoved down our throats. So I understand why even people who realize that this really is. It's beneath us, but it's along the lines of a theme I was talking about, infantilizing the human race. That's it's so petty. But the fact that it's being so forced on people is why people are saying, okay, you have to decode this. Like, why are they forcing this on us? It's so forced. Like, okay, there has to be more to it. And you mentioned the January 13th divorce rate. That actually does overlap with what I said. You're saying the overlap. Right away, there is that, and I'm glad you mentioned it because like you just mentioned, what is the first word you think of? I guess in this gematria community, when you think of 113, and that's the term bullshit. That is pretty interesting when you consider because I've talked about this theme as well, the feces theme. The last time it happened on a major level was when Lamar Odom. They said he defecated on his bed, he pooped the bed. This has come up again in this case, unfortunately. Now Amber Heard, I think of that name Heard. She's actually a Taurus. She was born April 22nd. That makes her a Taurus. The symbol for Taurus is the bull. And this is where the overlap comes, because there's a story where they're doing the Lamar Odom thing with Amber Heard. I think of the name Heard. Bull. She's a Taurus, the bull, Heard. And then there's this story, which I'll come to. Again, this is the overlap of where she pooped the bed. And if she's a Taurus and she represents the bull, then that gives a different meaning to the term bullshit, because she's a Taurus. So yeah, there's overlap there. So yeah, as I was saying, I was trying to stay away from it, and many people were, but they just keep really shoving it down our throats. They want it on our consciousness, on the public consciousness, for whatever reason. One obvious reason would be a distraction. But it's something I've been talking about, how they try to infantilize the human race. It's in a childlike state. That's why it's so difficult to talk about, quote-unquote conspiracy, or which is, conspiracy facts. Try to convey to people the idea that people in power may be using their power to abuse people and conspire against you. I mean, it's such that's literally human history, yet it's so difficult to imprint on people something that basic, because they're in a childlike state. Children believe everything that the adults say. So the media, the power paradigm, politicians, economic elites, these are the adults. And if you're in a childlike state, you just believe everything the adults say. I mean, they're children. That's understandable. You can't blame a child who's new to the world and, understands that adults know more about the world and how it works than they do. And whatever an adult tells them about the world, they'll believe. Well, you have to be in a childlike state, which is what the human race is. And I think things like this actually work. They're masters of psychology, those are part. They are masters. They know our minds work better than we do. And this works on an unconscious level. And the main thing I think here, it really does, it keeps the human race in a kind of adolescent, kind of infantile state on an unconscious level. I think that's the main reason this is happening. And so there are a couple of trends that I see here. These are ritual trends, things that have happened, which I've pointed out. Well, one of them I haven't pointed out. I'm pointing out for the first time. But this one here, about the whole poop, I've done 2 decodes on that. And that started with when the whole pandemic first started, and they had the toilet paper, the rush on toilet paper, and we saw how in the 4 base ciphers of English gematria, toilet paper and mind control match up perfectly in all 4 ciphers. So that is what this is. It's on an unconscious level. It's keeping you in an infantile state, which what do infants do? They just blindly believe adults because they're children. But now adults are like children now. And so that's the trend. The whole poop trend, which started with it's actually started before. And I've done decodes on that. I left a link. My latest decode on that had to do with the Super Bowl 56. Also talking about the Jesuit logo. When you turn it upside down, I mean, it does read SHIT. That is what it reads when the Jesuit logo is upside down. And that sums to 56. And this was the 56th Super Bowl. And the halftime performer there was Snoop Dogg. And I think about a week out of the Super Bowl is his big moment. It was alleged, this incident from back in 2013 got dredged back up ahead of the Super Bowl, in which a woman accused Snoop Dogg of sexually assaulting her while she was on the toilet, defecating. I know what the theme is there because I pointed it out. They threw that, and it was Super Bowl 56. That's why they brought that up. So I did a whole decode on that. It's actually my second decode on that theme. And so the incident before the Super Bowl is just very shortly before the Super Bowl was the Lamar Odom one. You did a decode on that one, where in Celebrity Big Brother, the quote-unquote reality TV, Lamar Odom, the former NBA star, the NCAA superstar, Lamar, and the former Kardashian spouse, they say he pooped the bed. And there were many angles to that ritual. Also, the date was February 4th, 4th February 4/2. And that was, again, that's part of the infantilization. I've talked about how it is in hip-hop. all these artists named Lil and Young and the Baby. Like, why would you call yourself, Childish Gambino? There's no positive connotation for the word childish. No one would call themselves childish. You could say baby, maybe that could be a term of endearment, but not childish. There's no context in which child. So you have Childish Gambino. So I've talked about this, especially in hip hop, which is why on the first picture I have under the title it's from Court TV, where the headline there is Heard's behavior described as bratish and childish, and I think that actually is what they're imprinting. I think it says it right there. The whole childish thing. That's actually being imprinted on all our unconsciousness. So yeah, so the poop in the bed, that's what children do. Children poop the bed, and that's what Lamar Odom was. He said he did it. There was no proof. People can look this up if they want. Obviously, I'm not going to show it, but apparently Johnny Depp actually took pictures of it. So there are pictures of Johnny Depp's bed, which supposedly Amber Heard, defecated on it. And her story was that it was the dogs who did it, and Johnny Depp said, no, I think they're Yorkies. You see, dogs are tiny little Yorkies, and I picked up Yorkie poop before. This is not Yorkie poop. This is human. Yeah, this is what the public is being fed. But I pointed out this trend already. So this is just part of a trend that it's just a matter of time. There'll be another celebrity poop-related story again, because it's a trend, and apparently they're going to continue this. So that's one part of it. Also, so they started this hashtag thing. Again, this is not the most mature thing in the world. They're forcing us to talk about it. So, okay, so they have these two hashtag the trends. One is hashtag Me Poo. Me Poo is a take on the Me Too, because you had the Me Too movement that was exposing sexual harassment and assault by powerful men, especially in the entertainment industry, but in general. And this case between the ongoing, this has been going on and on between these two. So Amber Heard, her accusations against Johnny Depp, and she did have some pretty strong evidence. Her evidence appeared pretty strong against Johnny Depp. So Johnny Depp was a target of the Me Too movement. So now they're saying hashtag Me Poo. That's a play on the term Me Too. And another thing, again, this is playground stuff. They're calling her hashtag Amber Turd. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what's going on. And so back in 2018, this was going on in 2018 between these two, where J.K. Rowling cast. She wrote Harry Potter. That's her claim to fame, is the Harry Potter author. Well, she had another movie called Fantastic Beasts, where she cast Johnny Depp at the height of the Me Too protests against his domestic violence against Amber Heard, and that was the controversy. Like, he should not be cast. And so the title in this British tabloid was called Gone Potty, Potty. Now, potty, of course, in American slang, potty means defecation, but in British slang, potty means crazy. But it's still part of the same theme. It's not a coincidence. We see what the theme is, even though in Britain it might mean something else. We know what potty is, and we can see why they're using it. It's not a coincidence. And it's also a play on Potter, because Harry Potter, so potty. So these are the games they play with words, with language. That's part of the clue. It's gematria plus this sort of thing. And they're calling it Poopgate. Well, that's exactly the term they use with Lamar Odom. So I'm saying with celebrities, unfortunately, we will keep seeing these stories with celebrities. I sure in the NFL, there are a bunch of these toilet-related things. There's one with Odell Beckham. But, yeah, this is going to be a trend. This won't be the last time. There'll be the next time for a celebrity associated with poo. And so, yeah, 56 is the big term for this, like I pointed out. And hashtag Me Poo. When you spell out, it's 56, which is the big term for this. And I pointed out, you mentioned the 113 when they got divorced. Yeah, well, bullshit is 113. And again, she's a Taurus. Taurus is the bull. And she pooped the bed. So you can see, again, how they play with the words. And Freemasons are known for doing it. They do a lot of word play. Bullshit. It's a Taurus, pooping the bed. Now, there's another trend, which is it's a dark trend. So I'm just pointing out some of the trends that are ritual trends that I see in this case. And one of them is the finger cutting ritual. This was really dark. And it's yet again. So this happens. Do accidents happen? Do people cut their fingers on occasion? Yes. So I don't know, it's understandable how someone may say, well, if you have several incidents of celebrities cutting their fingers, that's not necessarily indication of a ritual. I agree with that, but you have to look into more details that suggest it is a ritual, and that has to do with this very famous WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks released a communication, email communication. This is from Marina Abramovich, and those are not familiar with Marina Abramovich. She's a performance artist. That's her official title, but she's an occultist. She's like, clearly her theme is this dark occult, and some of her quote-unquote performance art is actual ritual. So you can perform an actual ritual, and it's dark. It's sorcery. It involves semen and blood, and it's called. And she has this famous one called spirit cooking, and it's out there for the public to see. Marina Abramovich, one of her performances is spirit cooking, and if you look at the details of it, I'm pretty sure that there are a bunch of videos still out there. What is spirit cooking by Marina Abramovich, and it's clearly sorcery. And one of the emails that WikiLeaks got a hold of was Marina Abramovich communicating with the brother of John Podesta. John Podesta is a very powerful Washington, D.C. political consultant, and he was the chief of staff to Bill Clinton. He's very powerful in Washington. And in the email, the John Podesta's brother is Tony Podesta. He's going to the spirit cooking. This is Marina Abramovich telling her. It says, I am looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place, she said. Do you think you will be able to let me know if your brother is joining? And the brother is John Podesta. So he's ready to spirit cooking. And a major part of spirit cooking, and it's in the performance that she writes, cut deeply into the middle finger of the left hand. So this is why I say, no, it's not just, okay, accidents happen and you can point out different accidents by celebrities that were similar, and that's not necessarily a ritual trend. Well, this tells you that it is a ritual. It's spelled out there. And a ritual among very powerful people. Some of the most powerful people in the country politically are connected to this spiritually. And it's spelled out, literally spelled out in blood on the wall, cut deeply into the middle finger of the left hand. Now, Johnny Depp, in 2015, he famously severed the middle finger, but this is of his right hand, but it was the middle finger, and he completely severed the tip of his middle finger, on his right hand middle finger. And his side of the story is that Amber Heard threw a vodka bottle at him, and he instinctively put his hand up to block it, and a piece of glass from the bottle severed the middle finger of his right hand. So Gematria has some interesting comparisons with that vodka bottle and John Podesta. They have double overlap in the base ciphers, so that's interesting. Also, Johnny Depp and John Podesta, they have some match in Gematria. And now, Marina Abramovich, her spirit cooking calls for cutting the middle finger of your left hand. Well, the MMA superstar Ronda Rousey, she did do that. She practically severed completely the middle finger of her left hand, exactly as spirit cooking says. And she says it was an accident. She was filming a show called 911, 9/11. That's the show she was filming when it happened. And I don't show the graphic pictures because YouTube can use that as a reason, I guess, to block videos if it's super graphic. But if anyone can look these up, the Ronda Rousey injury, her finger injury, it's very graphic. Her finger is dangling by the skin. You can see the bone. That sounds. And the same with Johnny Depp. You can see these completely graphic pictures. I'm not putting them up there because YouTube, will use that as an excuse to strike the video potentially. But yeah, Ronda Rousey was the left hand, and it happened. Another celebrity who severed the middle finger again of their left hand, just as spirit cooking states, was the the 1986 World Series winning pitcher with the New York Mets. He's Bobby Ojeda. But I don't know if he still is, but he was a pundit quite recently on the local station. So Bobby Ojeda, he's a left-handed pitcher, and on September 21st, 1988, he severed, or almost severed, similar to Ronda Rousey, where his finger was just dangling by the skin. And the official story then was that it was a gardening accident. And at the time, I mean, I wasn't into the esoteric side. I mean, I did have a distrust of those in power, but I didn't, not the esoteric side. I didn't grasp that. But even then, at the time, I was really, at the height of my, obsession with sports. I was a very avid, diehard New York Mets fan. But even then, and even among Mets fans, and they're not quote unquote part of the conspiracy theory, the story just didn't add up to anyone. I remember at the time, this was back in 1988, it just didn't add up to people. His side of the story that it was a gardening accident. Well, now I'm looking back, especially after Marina Abramovich spirit cooking and seeing the trend happen over again, I think this was the ritual, and it's related to what Marina Abramovich did. It was the middle finger of his left hand. Now, these rituals are very related to Osiris, the legend of Osiris of ancient Egypt, the fertility god from ancient Egypt, which Freemasonry, this is
Rambo.
very central.
It's the commercial break real quick, if you don't mind pausing.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back, everybody. Sit tight. All right, while we're on this silent break, I'm going to try to get Chris Geo's attention. See if we can get a little something figured out here. All right, again, sorry you guys for the silent pauses during the commercial breaks, but again, if we talk over during the break, the people who are listening on TFR, they'll miss all the information. So remember, we live stream on YouTube the TFR show. So normally though, we'd hear the commercials, and lately the little music breaks and the Chris Geo, whatever you want to call it, the compilation, like it's like techno music with Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Alex Jones. But hold on, I'm trying to get Chris Geo's attention, see if he can save the day here, because usually he can reset something on his end and solve the problems. Okay, well, the messages are out there, so if he's available, he might very well fix it. And nights where he's on it, he's usually right on top of things. So perhaps by the time Rambo segment's finished, we'll be back in business. The commercials are back, so that means they're back on the TFR. So you must be listening through TFR or something, because I mean, we'd hear them right now on my end if they were on. But yeah, it might be working on TFR, but for whatever reason, it's not working through, the show connection. So still gonna have to figure it out there. But Yeah, if you guys weren't in Oklahoma City, you know, this was probably the biggest gathering we had for a single pitcher. But again, a lot of people came through, and again, it was very cool. Just a lot of people, just natural chemistry, great conversations, and again, the only thing that could have made it better is even more people participating, and that's what's going to take to make a change in this world. People coming out in big enough numbers demanding justice. And it might take even more than that, too. As I've said, revolution or bust. But again, it would never be a successful revolt until there was enough people dedicated to the cause. So let's see. It seems like we should be coming off the commercial break here, but I don't even hear the music coming back in this time. Interesting. Do something real quick. Oh, there we go. All right, we're back, True Seeker. We are dealing with some technical difficulties tonight. It does happen, but the good news is we got Rambo right here, and he's in the middle of another brilliant presentation. So carry on, Rambo. You got the floor.
Well, thanks. Yeah, so what this might be related to is the legend of Osiris from ancient Egypt, which is very central to Freemasonry. They readopted this. This is one of their central ritual themes. And in the legend of Osiris, Osiris is a fertility god, which is related to the sun, because when the sun is up, that's when you have vegetation, lush vegetation. And as the sun goes down in the fall, there's obviously less fertility, and it goes into the underworld of winter when there's no fertility, and then spring, which is very big. We talked about all the spring rituals. Spring is when the sun is back. It's a huge celebration because fertility is back. That's why Osiris is green. Now, in the legend of Osiris, Osiris is killed by his brother Set. That's where you get the term sunset. So Set kills Osiris, and that is at the autumnal equinox. That's representing the sun going down on the year at the equinox. Then the sun goes into the underworld. Osiris is a god of the underworld as well as a fertility god. He's the god of the underworld. But that's after he dies. He goes into the underworld, and then he's resurrected as Horus in the spring. Now the legend has it that Set after he kills Osiris, he chops up Osiris's corpse into 14 pieces. 14 is a big number. It's a number associated with Osiris. So he cuts his body into 14 pieces. Isis has to go around Egypt collecting the pieces. She can only find 13 pieces. The one important piece that's missing is the penis of Osiris, his reproductive organ. So she has to make a simulation, based on golden simulation. That's what the obelisk represents. And then she's able to conceive. So that's the 14th piece. She's able to conceive, and then she gives birth to Horus, who's born at the spring equinox. And then the spirit of Osiris is reborn in the spring. And that's the legend. And that's why you see so much of the severing. It represents a severing of the penis of Osiris. And so here's a picture of John Podesta. This is in 2015. I think it was on Twitter. And on his right hand, he has the number. It looks like it was written with a magic marker. The number 14, and that's the Osiris number on his right hand. I mean, it could be other numbers, but still, on his. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The reason ISIS could not recover the penis of Osiris is because it was in the Nile River and it was eaten by a catfish. That's the legend. So John Podesta on his right hand has the number 14, and on his left hand he has the drawing of a fish. I mean, that just lines up too much with the legend of Osiris, and he's connected to the whole spirit cooking about cutting a finger, which, that could be representative of, it could be a finger is a phallic symbol as well. And so he's connected to all of this. So the 14 and fish, and they have explanations, exoteric. He's part of a kind of is a conservation group that's focused on the ocean, and they said he's very focused on the ocean and preserving the ocean, and he's active on environmentalism regarding the ocean. There's some organization he's part of which has a number 14 or something in their title. That's the exoteric reason, but look, he's connected to Marina Abramovich, and those emails that WikiLeaks revealed by Marina Abramovich, nobody denied that they were real. Those are real emails. They questioned how WikiLeaks got them, but they didn't question their authenticity. Those are authentic emails between Marina Abramovich and Tony Podesta. So that part is not disputed. And then he shows up with this Osiris symbolism. And then when he's connected to spirit cooking and Abramovich, she does the cutting of the phallic symbol, the fingers of phallic symbol. And this is another coincidence, if you want to call it that. This post of John Podesta with the 14 and the fish on his hand, the post was actually made by his assistant, and her name is Milia Fisher. So her name is Fisher. I mean, okay, maybe coincidences happen, but all this stuff lines up. So a major Osiris ritual related to this is, I think most people, almost everyone has heard of it, was John Wayne Bobbitt. That was on June 23rd, 1993, where they say his girlfriend, Lorena Bobbitt, literally severed his penis. And the whole story is just ridiculous. There's at night, she went driving with this severed member, threw it out into the darkness in a field, and then, it was in Manassas, Virginia. Then she went back home. He called the police, and there was this huge search party for John Wayne Bobbitt's severed member, like this huge search party with, I don't know, it's ridiculous. But, but yeah, and then they found it, and he got reattached, apparently. I don't believe that happened at all. And when you look at the rituals, you'll see what that was. That was an Osiris ritual. It was a Freemason ritual. I don't believe the story is absurd. But I guess the way the mainstream is, when you infantilize people, if the adults tell you something absurd, you believe it because the adults said it. And so that's part of the infantilization. If you tell a 4-year-old that the moon is made of ice cream and that's where ice cream comes from, they'll believe it. Nothing against them. They're not stupid. That's how children are. They believe the adult. Well, that's the state they're in. So a story like the John Wayne Bobbitt thing, which is, it's beyond absurd. But again, the infants, if you're mentally an infant, you believe it simply because the adults said it. And why would the adults lie about something like that? Which I've actually talked about this John Wayne Bobbitt thing with some people, and that was their whole response of why would they lie? Oh, you're so absurd. Like, what, this isn't absurd? Like, but again, that's the state of mind to have people. And now here's another incident was she won Wimbledon twice. She's a double Wimbledon winner. Her name is Petra Kvitova. She's from the Czech Republic. Right now she's ranked 28th, but back in 2016, again, I blocked this because, so YouTube doesn't have an excuse. If you want to see the graphic pictures, it's easy to look up. They're just all over. As soon as you put Petra Kvitova, sometimes the picture pop right up. Really graphic. So this was her left hand. She's actually left-handed. And there's a home invasion in the Czech Republic. They say the invader posed as a repairman. And she was blocking his knife because he was trying to knife her. And her playing hand, she's left-handed, the fingers were sliced, and some of them were like to the bone. And that was her left hand again. So this is one of the indications that some of these are related to the Osiris, because he's a vegetation god. He's related to the sun. So the equinoxes, at the height of fertility, or at the winter solstice, no, yeah. So the solstice is at the height of fertility, and the winter solstice when there is no fertility, when the sun is dead, and then you have the equinox as well. Because it told her hand cutting incident happened on December 20th. It happened at the winter solstice. That's Osiris, the god of the underworld, and that's representative of cutting off the generative organ of Osiris with the finger as a phallic symbol. This happened on December 20th at the winter solstice. Now, John Wayne Bobbitt's incident happened at the summer solstice, June 23rd. So these are other. And then the Mets pitcher Bobby Ojeda, they say, Seth killed Osiris at the autumnal equinox. That's when the sun goes down on the year. Well, Bobby Ojeda's left finger was cut on September 21st, the autumnal equinox. I think this all lines up. These are the heart of a lot of this is, the Freemasonic Osiris rituals, and Johnny Depp. He was just part of that ongoing ritual. Most of these are just, they're not rituals unto themselves, they're parts of overarching rituals, and that's part of what's going on here with the Johnny Depp saga. So yeah, that's the decode for today.
Okay, very interesting. You went a lot different direction with it than I did. Did anything stand out to you about the date that the trial began in light of Johnny Depp's first ever movie?
No, I didn't look at his, the only clues in the movies. I didn't look at the different movies.
Do you know what Johnny Depp's first ever movie was?
I know his first ever, his first big hit was Edward Scissorhands, but I don't know what
Well, so the movie, his first ever movie actually has a clear parallel to Edward Scissorhands. It's a Wes Craven movie.
Oh, okay.
Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger with the scissor-like hands.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's interesting.
JFK was supposedly shot from 411 Elm Street, and the trial began on 411. And Amber Heard's from the Dallas area, and when the trial began, she was 35 years old, like JFK was number 35. And I was just thinking about how all that is and how it seems like it's beyond coincidence. I had a few more thoughts on it, but if you want to check it out later, it is there. But I think there is some kind of tribute to JFK, and of course JFK, you know, he didn't finish his term, and he has all the parallels with Biden. And what's funny is if you look into the date that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard filed for divorce, it was May 23rd, which is typically the 143rd day of the year, and Johnny Depp equals 143. And again, Biden has all the parallels with John F. Kennedy. Of course, John F. Kennedy equals 59 in Gematria. The trial began 59 days before Johnny Depp's 59th birthday, and of course, Biden just won the rigged 59th presidential selection. But this trial also began on Joe Biden's 143rd day of his age, and again, Johnny Depp's 143. So is a Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, and again, Dealey Plaza is named after a Scottish Rite Freemason. And what's interesting is Johnny Depp didn't take the stand for the first time until April 19th, that infamous day in history. And that is also the day that Dealey Plaza was added to the National Registrar of Historic Places. Of course, that's right down Interstate 35 from Oklahoma City on the 35th parallel that blew up on April 19th. But, I think somewhere in here is a little riddle with, the Catholic presidents and maybe a premature ending for Joe Biden's term, as we've been talking about. But by the way, did you see the latest intel for when Joe Biden might leave office?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you know President Biden's 81, and in Gematria, and he supposedly got 81 million votes.
Yeah.
And you know the whole ritual with Kamala Harris, or I should say Gerald Ford, talking about the first female president, how that will come about, and he did that from the Herbert Hoover Library.
Yeah. So
Herbert Hoover's birthday is August 10th, and August 10th this year is exactly 81 weeks after Biden took office. And that date can also be written 10/8, like 108, and Dealey Plaza's 108. But maybe if you want to look at it even a little more closely, you might find even more there with this trial, because you're right. There is a reason they're doing this, and they do have a lot of people tuned in. I saw that nearly 500,000 people were watching the live stream on YouTube, and I was just like, man, if only we could get 500,000 people to listen to an important decode. But
Yeah, the 81 is also related to Kamala Harris because she's it's a Venus number. It's a big Venus number, and Venus rules Libra. She's a Libra, so that's relevant.
August 10th is the 222nd day of the year, and President Harris does equal 222. So it'd be funny if they did it that way. The whole riddle would be through Herbert Hoover and what Gerald Ford said. So.
Also, you mentioned 59. Johnny Depp was labeled a wife beater. A wife beater is 59. Another thing about wife beater, because a wife beater is also the euphemism for that for the undershirt, and you know how 59 is quoted on Black history. So how many of these? You see a lot of these incidents where these African Americans are being shot by police. George Floyd, that's one of them. Very often they're wearing a wife beater. Like the wife beater is almost a symbol. It's become almost like a racial symbol. It's almost like the equivalent of a MAGA hat. Like a MAGA hat is for like a white symbol, and the wife beater. So wife beater 59. That's part of that too, because that's what Depp has been labeled.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, that fits in 59 days before his 59th birthday. So.
Also the cutting thing as well. I'll talk about the cutting theme. And so you talk about Edward Scissorhands and Nightmare on Elm Street, and that's part of that as well. I think that's related.
Interesting. Well, was there any other thoughts that you want to put out there, Rambo? Since we haven't done a show for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a decode. Like I point out these trends. Like with the whole pooping thing, it's a trend, and then it's only a matter of time before it's going to be in the news because it's a trend. Well, one that I pointed out in my videos, I'll talk about the AI theme, and that's the twinless twin. There's even a Wikipedia page on the twinless twin, and I pointed that out. It's like Philip K. Dick. He's a major part of the AI theme. His book was the inspiration for Blade Runner, and Blade Runner is about these humanoids that are indistinguishable from human beings, which that seems to be the future. It seems like technology, they want it to head that way, whether that succeeds, but it does seem like, again, a lot of this science fiction has turned out to be science facts. So there's this future they keep pointing to over and over about humanoid robots being indistinguishable from actual humans, and Philip K. Dick was an inspiration for that. So the twin would be the AI, and it's a twin of the human race. And the twinless twin means one twin is no longer there. And Philip K. Dick, he was his sister. He had a twin sister who died 41 days after they were born. And he put a lot of twinless twins themes in there. And that also goes back to Rome. This Rome was founded by Romulus and Remus, who were twin brothers. And Romulus killed Remus, and then he founded Rome. And so that goes back to Rome. And you know how central Rome is to all this. So the founder of Rome, Romulus, is actually a twinless twin. So I had pointed that out about a month and a half ago. And then outside the United States, Cristiano Ronaldo you could argue, outside of maybe Lionel Messi, might be the biggest male celebrity. He's actually a sex symbol. Lionel Messi is not a sex symbol. So Cristiano Ronaldo has the status of like a movie star. And then the twinless twin theme. I mean, if it happened, so often to happen, and obviously from a human standpoint, of course, you feel for them, but I don't know, it's childbirth. I don't know, is it really 100% proof that it happened? Also, the way they word it, too, is Cristiano Ronaldo announces that his son died at birth. They put the phraseology is really interesting. They didn't say that, the hospital didn't announce it. They didn't say his twin son died. They said he said on social media that it happened. But nonetheless, I'm going to do a decode on that. And yeah, I think that's a major, because I pointed the trend out already. So I'm not reacting to it happening. I think the twinless twin is a constant theme, and it happened again, the twinless twin. So yeah, I'd add that. I'll do a decode on that.
Okay, I look forward to that. And you bringing that up reminds me that it was just pointed out that the AT&T building, AT&T so connected to 9/11, seemingly JFK, Oklahoma City, their building in New York City was at 33 Thomas Street. And again, like you've been telling us, Thomas means twins, and the construction began in 68, 33 years before 2001. So I'm just thinking, what are the odds of that? The AT&T building at 33 Thomas Street.
Yeah, that is a very ominous-looking building. It's got very few windows. I guess it's
windowless. It says it doesn't have any windows.
Yeah, it's a really ominous-looking place, and I think it's built for espionage, like it's spying on the public, pretty much.
That's what the Wikipedia page says. It says it's the National Security Agency has a mass surveillance hub there.
Yeah, it's pretty scary-looking building. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was doing yard work. It was shortly after I got my house, so it was in 2012, and I was listening to probably Democracy Now! That day. It was in the days before I knew Gematria, and it was probably springtime 2012. But there was a new admission that AT&T had been collecting everyone's phone records since 1984, and I was like, wow, since 1984, huh? What a year. But yeah, I'm still trying to get to the bottom of what AT&T is. The current head of the company is Jesuit educated, go figure. But it seems like AT&T, it's always had. It seems like it was the CIA even before the CIA existed. So that might be another thing if you got the time to research. I think we're missing some big important facts with AT&T. It's obvious they have a lot to do with what's going on in the world. So
one thing I've noticed also symbolism-wise is their logo. Yeah, and their logo it's the planet Jupiter. You know, it's this globe, and it has the horizontal stripes. It literally looks like Jupiter, I believe.
Yeah, you're right.
Jupiter
Striped planet. It is a striped, spherical object. So yeah, that very well could be. The color scheme, though's not quite Jupiter.
Yeah, they don't have Jupiter, but that's the only planet that has those horizontal stripes.
I forget if I relayed this to you, but the reason that they removed Pluto from the list of planets is because they said it's actually orbiting Neptune. And remember, we were able to predict that the Russia-Ukraine thing would pop off when it did, because Pluto was in conjunction for the first time since what had happened at the time of the American Revolution. But you were just doing the work on Neptune being the blue and black planet, and it's kind of interesting how their logo has more of that color scheme. But then you're right, the striped spherical object is more like Jupiter. So maybe in some way it's paying tribute to both.
Yeah, and if you think of the zodiac sign of Pisces, it has two ruling planets, Jupiter and Neptune. It's kind of like a yin-yang. There's a yin-yang with pretty much all signs have a yin-yang to them, but the Jupiter-Neptune, that seems to point towards Pisces.
And we're in the age of Pisces. Maybe that's what their symbol's about. We're going to have to think more about that.
No, that was a good observation. I didn't think about the color theme lining up with Jupiter, but yeah. So that could be both. Yeah, that's like yin yang thing. That's what that is. Yeah.
Okay. Well, very interesting, Rambo. If you have more thoughts, you're welcome to put them out there, or if not, we can see if I can get the rest of the show working.
No, I think that's a lot of information for one segment.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Very interesting as always, and always grateful. Thank you, Rambo.
All right. Can I just mention my YouTube channel again?
Yeah, the Truth Codes. Here, I'll put it up on the screen,
the
of course.
Truth Codes, yeah.
The Truth Codes. Yeah, people got to know the Truth Codes.
Yep. All right, thank you.
All right, yeah, you're very welcome. All right, take care.
Hey, take care.
All right, his number's climbing. I think YouTube's lying about everybody's stats. I would think he would have more subs by now, but his number is climbing. If you guys aren't subscribed to Rambo's YouTube channel, this is it, the Truth Codes. And again, he's good at making videos already too. He's got some nice video editing skills. So, let's test to see if the call board started working again. If not, I'll just switch over to my own phone number. And then again, unfortunately, it's not a call board, so it's just timing your call right, which can be difficult because you guys are on a little bit of a delay. But here, let's try first to see if the call board started working. Unfortunately, I haven't heard from Chris Geo tonight, so he's probably busy. But here, I know George would be there. George, you can probably hear me. Let me see if I can hear you. I might not be able to hear you. Yeah, it's not working. Sorry, George. I see that you're talking because it lights up on my screen like you're talking, but I can't hear anything because for some reason, just the call board and the ads are muted on my end. I don't know why. Again, I've never seen it before where I can hear the music and the breaks, but I can't hear the commercials and the callers. It's never been that way before, so that's weird. We only have a minute till the commercial break, and then we have an hour and a half of show left. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over to my phone, so we'll just take calls through my phone for the rest of the show, which means I have to change the number on the screen. For those of you who don't want to call in, you can stay on the call line you're on now. You can listen to the show that way, but I'm just not going to be able to answer your call tonight. So, of course, the other number is the 509-560-4982. Let me get that up on the screen. And remember, it's not a call board, so it's just it's all about the timing. And since the commercial's about to start, we'll wait until the commercial breaks over. We'll have this awkward pause period, but then we'll take calls as soon as the break's over. So okay, we're on the break, and it's about a 2-minute break. When the break's over, we'll start taking calls. But yeah, it will be the number on the screen for the rest of the show because 213 is not working. And yeah, I know people are trying to call in right now. I still got to flip the switch for the number, but I will as soon as the break's over. So you might want to wait until you hear me say, okay, the line is officially open. And since, somebody gave a super chat, I guess I can say thank you for that real quick. Let me find out who did that on this commercial break. I do appreciate the donation. Let me get it open here. Mookie sends a nice little super chat. I appreciate it, and so does LAF. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. There was no comment though, so there was no super chat to read. Well, we will take calls tonight. We're just going to take them on the cell phone because the call board's not working. So it's a bummer the call board's not working. I was hoping we'd have a flawless show since we were off the last 2 weeks, but you know how it is. Some weeks we got technical issues, so. Well, for some reason, you can hear it from my end that it's just silence. So yeah, it's not working on my end. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't have the tools to troubleshoot it. It has to be done from the station controller's end. All I have are a few buttons to click and connect to, and if it's not working, it's not working. So. If I turn it up, you can hear it. On my end, it's just static coming through. That's what it sounds like on my end, just static. But yeah, while we're on break, we're about to come back. I mean, if you haven't subscribed to Rambo's channel, perfect chance to do so. The truth codes. And again, for the people calling in tonight, again, same rule. If you weren't in Oklahoma City, I'd rather you not call in. I'd rather just hear from the people who came out to Oklahoma City tonight, just so other people can hear their thoughts, how it was for them, maybe inspire you to come out there, hear more than just my take on it. But okay. All right, there's Prince. All right, we're back. I did see the comment in the chat about how the new Marvel movie is going to have the Illuminati in it. And of course, it comes out on May 6th, 5/6. Illuminati means in the light. 56 is the light number. But okay, I've opened up the line to call in. Again, the call board is not working. So if you want to call in, 509-560-4982. And again, I'd love to hear from the people who are in Oklahoma City, who were in Dallas. Shout out to Mookie with the super chat. That was my first super chat, now second. Big supporter, and I want to call in to have humanity-changing discussion after the OKC gathers. I appreciate that. And first up is RPM Trey, Vietnam. Hey, I'm glad you're the first one to call in here tonight. And how you doing?
I'm good, man. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, so...
Good.
Really appreciate you and your cousin coming out to Oklahoma City. And what's your feedback from the event?
I think it was awesome, man. It was good to see the diversity of people that were there. The whole vibe just felt surreal, because seeing something like that on such a small scale was good, because it was the first time I really felt like I was seeing like-minded people come together in the same place where I was doing my thing. And it just felt good, man. And I could just imagine that being on a larger scale.
Indeed. And I think we created a big spark. And I think if we do it again next year, we will have a lot more people. So.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm going to be there. That's guaranteed.
Well, I appreciate that, and you brought your cousin as well, so you helped our numbers out, and
and he's a big he's a big fan of yours too, man. He follows your work, he loves your stuff, and he feels the same way I do, man. Is that it's just not surprising to us that Gematria seems to be the top tier platform when it comes to identifying and exposing what the hell is really going on in the world, man. So we thank you for everything you do, man.
Well, you're welcome. And the reason it's such a helpful tool is because there's no doubt that they're using this knowledge. And I mean, because they're doing this, from understanding it, it really is their biggest giveaway of how they operate. And again, it ascends it shows who the who, what, why, when, where is about what's going on in the world. Well, I know I saw your comments. You said that you think we need to do it. You know, we need to have another event. You know, Oklahoma City, September 11th. But it sounds like you want to do even more of these. Have you thought about like another date, another anniversary date that would make sense to gather on?
No, I haven't. But they do this so much. We could probably throw a fucking dart at the calendar.
Sure.
And find some bullshit that they've done somewhere.
Sure. You're in Iowa. Well, you know, I gotta be honest. When I think of Iowa, I'm like, what's a big event that's happened in Iowa? I'm sure you would know since you live there. Is there a notable date in Iowa history?
I can't remember the exact date, but there was a plane crash with the La Bamba thing.
Okay.
What was that? That was the. Did you know what I'm talking about? The plane crash that killed the famous guys?
I've covered that. It's in my first book. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and see when that was too. I know that's in there, but I gotta go back and figure out when that was.
I believe that plane crash happened in Iowa, supposedly.
Okay.
I'm not sure what date or what the circumstances are, but that's one thing that stands out to me, that Iowa is like, yo, man, people are going to hear the name Iowa because of this for sure. They were very famous people, and everybody loved and paid close attention to their lives, and then they all died in a crash, supposedly. So.
Okay, that could be a spot.
I mean, it's really close to September 11th, but in August of 2020, there was this weird storm called a derecho right here in Cedar Rapids, where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And it was weird because I was out and about with my family, and my girl was pregnant at the time. And we thought it was just a tornado, and it was really bad, and it lasted way too long. And on the way home, we were just like, yo, how are we going home the exact same path of this tornado? And I'm like, the shit is everywhere like a fucking hurricane over land. I didn't know there was a word for that. They called it a fucking derecho. And that's supposedly what it was, and it had happened for over 100 years. It might have been 100 years exactly, or 101 years, but I'm pretty sure there's some gematria in all of that.
There was. It happened August 10th, 2020, a date with 58 numerology, and derecho equals 58, and that was the 223rd day of the leap year in natural disasters 223. I remember covering that. And they were saying that all the destruction of the corn, they said we'll actually see that in our food supply 2 years down the road, which is this year. So, yeah. That was suspicious. Mm-hmm.
It was a weird thing to experience, and there was definitely some weather warfare, man.
Yes.
It was a weird thing to see that happen.
The plane crash that happened in Iowa happened February 3rd, 1959. Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper, J.P. Richardson, died in the plane crash. They call that the day the music died. So.
Yep, the day the music died. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the 34th day of the year, the murder number. So.
Yeah, and I don't know much about that, but I'm pretty sure there's some spooky, eerie gematria shit all over that, man.
Indeed. I got to go back and look at all what I wrote in my first book, because I know I covered that crash. So, yeah, that you're right. That was in Iowa. Clear Lake, Iowa is where the crash happened.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your message for the people who've never met you before? I mean, what do you want people to think about right now at this day and age? And yeah, you had so many brilliant thoughts you shared with me, so I just like for people to hear you in your own words speak.
I really think that like I told you, that I was fighting mad before I found gematria. I think on the surface level, a lot of people are letting a lot of bullshit slide. I think a lot of people actually call it bullshit. They turn their nose up at some of the news stories. They pace around like, how is this possible? What is the world coming to? But they just won't give in to the idea that world domination is a real thing. It shouldn't even escape people's minds or imaginations. We see it in the movies all the time. Some of those things that we see in these films are actually predicted programming, because then we see the shit coming to fruition. And it's a big psychological thing, man, that I think that if people could just step outside of their own ego, their own introspective projection onto the world, and they will find the truth of some of the shit that they know is bugging them deep in their hearts. Because a lot of people that I talk to about gematria seem to be so introspective that if they can't understand how they could have planned this kind of shit or why they would do it, they find it to be unbelievable. And it's just like, God damn, like there's an entire world spinning around you all the time doing its own thing, and a lot of this shit goes over your head, even your own body. You walk around in your own body for 60, 70, 80 years. If you're lucky and healthy, you can live 80 good years, but fuck, like how much of your own body do you even know? You gotta go to a doctor to figure that shit out. Right. And you walk around in this fucking meat suit your whole fucking life, and you don't understand it, you can't figure it out. So for people to not be able to walk the steps between understanding that the human ego and world domination is not a far-fetched idea, looking at the bullshit that they do see in the world, recognizing that things go above their head, and then hearing Gematria, it just doesn't sound far-fetched to me at all, because in order for them to do what they're doing to the world, they have to be that sneaky. They have to be that elusive. They have to be that ritualistic. All this shit just makes total sense to me, that I don't understand why it seems so crazy to people that know that something is wrong.
Indeed.
Like somehow Gematria is too crazy. How could it be too crazy? This is the human spirit we're talking about. We are some bad, destructive, intelligent, loving motherfuckers. We are all of those things. In order to rule us the way they are doing, it's got to be something magical. And this Gematria sounds and literally looks like fucking dark magic. And people still won't get it. It's fucking weird to me, man.
It is, we got to figure out a way to snap people out of it. And I think really one of the ways to do it is people gathering in the way we did in public places, and letting other people see that, wait a minute, these people are coming together to talk about something. Maybe there's some safety in these numbers. Maybe there's something to what this group's saying. And we got to figure out how to do it. We're only going to do it if we put the effort towards it. And It was just awesome, again, the group we had, because it was so diverse, and then you and your cousins show up, and you bring a whole new level of diversity, because you guys got the ARs, and you got a sign that says, hug a AR owner, and I mean, who's ever seen that before? I mean, so...
And I've been doing that since, like, 2018. I've been had this political passion boiling inside of me, as far as the manipulation that I'm going through personally with the justice system, and letting that blossom into a nice, healthy distrust for anything that they ever fucking do or say. And I just got tired of just barking about it online, and I was like, fuck this, I'm going out on the streets, and I'm bringing a fucking gun with me. And my mom was kind of nervous about that, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get a bulletproof vest. And she was like, okay, your chances of surviving something crazy has gone up, but I'm not comfortable. And I was like, I'll bring a sign to solicit hugs from strangers to prove a lot of things. Number one is that an unarmed stranger, a young girl, I even had military vets walk up to me with their whole family, including a pregnant wife. There's one guy in particular stands out to me. And there was just no fear at all for them to approach me while I'm out here with this sign and this big-ass gun. And I was proving to people that the media is like trying to make everybody scared of these guns, because they want black people to shy away from it because of this quote-unquote black-on-black crime shit. There's not a real fucking thing. That's a bunch of stupid-ass wordplay that they're trying to pull on people with that shit. And then they want you to think that all the white guys are racist. And it's just like, man, goddamn, we either gangbangers or we feel too righteous and above a fucking gun to ever tote one, or it's just a bunch of fucking stupid bullshit. We went out there to dispel all that shit, and we've been doing it successfully, man. Proving that I can get people on camera to hug me while I'm armed the fuck up.
Right.
And no one's scared of me, man.
Right. Yeah. No. It's really clever, and you have a great message with what you do. So. And everyone who's already seen you on camera and who's checking out your channel, they really appreciate what you're doing too. So keep it up. And again, he has another message they didn't say. He got censored in a big way. They took down all of his stuff and it made him want to quit, but then he's back. And again, I mean, there's a lot of censorship. We just got to keep persevering. They want to stop us. They're trying to stop us, so we can't let them stop us. So.
Oh man, I've made 2 TikToks in the past 24 hours that have been videos have been removed like within 30 seconds of being posted, because I like to be kind of abrasive, but the abrasive approach that I have sometimes is always counterbalanced by the fact that I am out in the street soliciting hugs. I am telling people that I don't care if they're gay or if you're black or if you're white or whatever the fuck you are or whatever you think, it doesn't matter. No one can shut you up or hurt you because of who you are, who you like to have sex with, or what the fuck you're talking about. Don't none of that shit matter. And if you want it to really be understood that you're going to be who you want to be, talk your shit with the fucking gun in your hip and bring your love and heart, man. And people are going to have to respect you or walk the fuck away from you. And that's what's supposed to happen,
Indeed. Well, Trey, I'm really glad we have you in the community and we got you out on the streets. And I look forward to the next time we meet up. And it is coming. So now the one question, I got to ask you one question though. Now, New York, you can't carry the gun there. So how do you feel about that?
Nah. I think that's fucking bullshit, because in reality, if you take a state like Iowa, they believe that they are working in tune with the Constitution, which I don't think you need. These rights are inalienable and they're natural, just being outlined in the Constitution, and warn these motherfuckers that they better watch how they govern, because people will always have these guns, and then we let them fuck with the gun shit. In a state like Iowa, when in the idea of a revolution over firearms, the people shouldn't have to do shit. The state of Iowa and its state police and its sheriffs should be looking at states like New York saying, we are in tune with the fucking Constitution, and we're proving that by the way we write our laws and what we got going on right now. And you guys are in a great contradiction of what we're doing, and we will come stop you. We will come make you change that shit by force if necessary right now. That's what the state of Iowa should be doing. And the fact that they are not doing that, and they're letting this bullshit contradiction go right in front of everybody, it's proof that we cannot depend on them for nothing, man. They can't hold shit consistent, and that shit is annoying. And it's a glare into the eye of the dragon, man. And that is this bullshit that you expose with Gematria every day. It's much bigger than what the average person will ever give the credit for if they don't open their eyes.
Indeed. All right, Trey. Well, again, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming out. And again, if you want to collaborate soon and showcase more of your work and help promote your channel, just reach out to me, because I'm more than happy to do that. And again, tell your cousin thank you too.
Hell yeah! And whenever we're in the same place, just know that you will be well protected, bro. No one's gonna fuck with you around me, man. No way.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Trey.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we'll be in touch. You got my number.
Yeah. Have a good night, man.
Yeah, you too. You take care. So Trey and his cousin, they're good people. They came out to Oklahoma City. They pounded pavement with us on April 19th. And again, there were so many great interviews and conversations we had. And, they were on Yeah Right the Matrix's channel, and they were on my channel, and they were on other people's channels, and they're just taking down our videos. And it's like, what grounds are you really taking our videos down? Like, when they took down my video, they said it was for copyright. It's like, copyright? I'm interviewing people on the street. We're having conversations. This is original content. This is something the world's never seen before. What do you mean copyright? Here, let's go out to 408. 408, were you at Oklahoma City?
Yes, this is Evan. I was there on Sunday for a few hours.
Yes.
We drove me to the airport.
We went to the airport, indeed. How you doing, Evan?
I'm doing good. One thing, or guess a couple things that I wanted to mention. I wish that I had been there a couple days later when you guys were actually interacting with some of the people there. But I did have a great time meeting other truth seekers there on Sunday. Second thing that I wanted to get to, in regards to potential future meetups or whatever you would call them, I think, especially for those in Texas where I am, November 13th in Austin, because that is Greg Abbott's birthday, and it's the 317th day of the year, which is the 66th prime, and Texas equals 66. Texas became independent from Mexico on the 66th day of the year. And I think November 13th of this year will also have 66 date numerology. So I don't want to plan anything yet, but I'm just throwing that idea out there.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting thought. That could be right. So, how do you feel about the idea for New York 9/11? Is that something you could do?
I mean, that's still a few months out, so I'm not sure yet if I could do that. But given that it is on a weekend, that's definitely a likely possibility.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Any other thoughts on your mind?
Yeah. So given that I live in Austin, Texas, and I do kind of keep up with University of Texas athletics, the other day was April 22nd, which was the 112th day of the year. And obviously the Jesuits are known for operating in 112 countries. Right. So in college baseball, Texas defeated Baylor, which is it's the Catholic school, I want to say, just up the road, 20-1. and I think the Texas manager got his, I want to say it was 397th career win, which is the 78th prime, and Jesuit is 78. So, I mean, I didn't even think they could script college baseball, but I guess they do.
Oh, they do. They definitely do. So, interesting. Well, great observations, Evan. And again, it was really good to meet you, and I appreciate that you took the time to come out there and be part of the gang. So, hopefully, New York, you can do it as well.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Catch you later.
Yeah, take care, Evan. Hold on. My mom, I think, wants to be part of the show. So hold on. She wasn't in Oklahoma City, but we'll let her cheat. She says she has something really important.
Hello?
You wanted to be part of the show, it sounds like?
Well, I just finished watching the documentary. I wish everybody that was there in Oklahoma with you had watched it before you went down there. Remember the man standing on the corner with what happened to Officer Riki?
Isn't it like Yiki? Yeah.
Yiki. Okay, he's mentioned in that, and he was brutally murdered. He was only 30 years old. He was one of the first police officers. He was giving a ticket at the time when the bomb went off, and so he stopped doing the ticket and went there, and he knew too much, and they found him like in a field. I forget how far out of Oklahoma City. He was anemic, so his officers said there's no way he could have walk that distance where this body was found. They ruled it a suicide, even though he had 13 lacerations to his body. He was shot in the forehead, Xing through the cheek or something, and all these other, his hand, you could tell his wrists were cuffed. And then, remember Mr. Massey, that I knew he was a scumbag. When you were interviewing him, he was on the board, remember, and he said he was a DA at the time. Okay, he's in the film too, when he was younger, and it was the Citizens Committee of Oklahoma that formed this committee because they didn't like the government findings, and they had put all this money together, and there were donors, and then that DA, Mr. Massey, being the DA, took the money, and that was the end of it. I knew just when you interviewed him, there's something about him. He looks like they call the people wear the white hats on their heads, Ku Klux Klan or Mason. And it's an excellent film. It's about 2 hours long, and it involves all these different people that I've never heard of before. There's a German, they think he's like a CIA officer from Germany. I forget his name now, but everybody should watch it. I watched it on Tubi. I just subscribed and put my email in there because a lot of it's censored, but you get to Tubi, and I was able to watch it for free. The Big Lie. And then the man who wrote the documentary also, I listened to him in like an interview about it, and he believes that Timothy McVeigh is still alive. And it was because his body was never released to his parents or his family. And at the after the supposedly execution, there were 3 hearses outside to make it confusing as they leave. And usually a body is turned over, and then it's supposed to be examined, and none of that was done, and they just cremated him, supposedly. And that's why there's really no proof that he really was executed, and that he worked for the CIA. He was in the military, and it's really good.
The Big Lie on Tubi, Tubi.
Yeah, because everywhere else, when I would try to find it, either it was like censored off of YouTube, it's been censored off of Amazon. So I just kept scrolling when I searched it, and then I found it on Tubi. And, I just put in my email and, just whatever they asked, and then it's played. There's a few commercials you got to wait for during the film, but I watched the whole thing. I just finished it. It's about 2 hours, but it's excellent. And that Officer Riki, it's terrible what they did to him. And then, some of the people who were, that survived spoke about how they saw these AFT agents outside the building that morning, and then they were down. The one lady who survived was in the basement or parking lot before that ever happened, and she saw them stringing wires, and then had a putty. And then all these other, expert engineers that have, looked at bombings and stuff before. They say there's no way explosives in the truck alone could have done that. There had to be detonation in the building, and the fact that when the FBI came in, the local police and the news were reporting what people saw, but then after the government came in, it all changed, and the media took a different narrative. And
well, again, even in the initial reporting, they said that there were multiple bombs found at the site. So, I mean, right away, that just throws out the whole story. If there's other bombs in the building, then it couldn't have just been a truck bomb. So
no. And then even they knew there were still 3 victims there. And but when the FBI and everybody came in, and no wonder you were threatened with all these threats from the FBI, and they probably did that Officer Riki in too, because he knew the truth. He arrived there early, and whatever he saw, they didn't want him exposing it. And then there's something to do with this man was in jail for, he was in the military, and how when Vietnam or whatever the war was, maybe it wasn't Vietnam, but the ones later, the Gulf Wars. And anyway, he got hooked on heroin. So when he came back, he was robbing banks and to support his heroin. But his brother said he was really a good guy, but he got hooked on heroin in the military, and then to support his habit, he broke the law and he was sent to prison. And then when he got out, supposedly he got arrested for a violation of his parole. And his brother said, I thought I'd just be there for a couple months. And because he'd gotten married and he was happy. And then he got brutally murdered in the prison. They said that was a suicide. It shows his feet all brutally beat up. He had strangulation marks. I mean, it's just, you saw the body, and he couldn't have done that himself. And it's because the government thought there was a group of people in that one city outside of Oklahoma City. It's kind of a long word. They think that's like a CIA headquarters where a lot of this stuff was planned. And at that time, they were saying, some of the, the media was saying, well, these people were upset over that, what was that Waco thing in Texas? And there was a group of like skinheads and those types of people that were robbing banks. And, the guy that was found in jail murdered, he robbed banks earlier for his heroin, but so somehow they felt like it was a case of mistaken identity, that they thought this guy was part of the group that was robbing banks to support their terrorism, anger at the government and stuff. And the brother says, I think that's why my brother was murdered. But it's really a good, they've done a lot of investigation, and the people credible, they did the Freedom of Information Act and got some information. It was hard because, they didn't want us to give it to them. And some stuff they never got. But it's just, and then one guy that was on the jury, he was let go, and it explains why, but he was not happy and was asking too many questions. And, I guess in a way you're lucky. So all that intimidation by the FBI, I'm sure that's who it was when you were there. It just fits in with how people were intimidated. And, 2 people at least murdered brutally, and both of them ruled suicide. I mean, hello.
Just to check, the film you saw, is it actually called A Noble Lie?
The Big Lie.
You're sure it's not A Noble Lie?
Does it say who the guy is that made it again?
Well, again, we had the guy who made A Noble Lie. He came out and he gave us a little field trip around town. His name's Chris Emery. He's the narrator in the film.
That's him, Chris Emery.
Yeah, it's called A Noble Lie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was The Big Lie, but it's a great documentary. And then I knew when you had that Mr. Macy on your camera there, when you guys were asking him why. Well, he goes, I'm on the board here, and say, well, can you get us into the museum? And he's like, well, no, I can't do that. I mean, I just knew he was not a good person. And then there's a short thing with him in the video.
Is he the guy that was in the suit but wearing running shoes?
Yeah, I think so. Gray hair, older.
Yeah, Fake Mike Real News is who got him on. Here he is.
He ought to go watch it so he can, it just shows he took all the money and stuff, and because the citizens weren't happy, a lot of the people, with what the government ruled. And they had done, people had made donations, and they were really, because in the Oklahoma, that state has a law where even they can go to court and have their own type of, a court case, even if that has been, the government's already settled one. And so that DA then, that he kind of just ended it, that Macy. And there's just something about him in the interview. I knew he reminded me of a Ku Klux Klan guy or
Well, it is funny to think about how white supremacy was a big theme with the bombing, and then the cop who dies is a black man. So
yeah, and that cop that was so aggressive with you, he ought to look at that movie and see how that officer, he was only 30 years old, and what they did to him. And then how could they say that's a suicide when you're shot through the temple and you got all these 13 lacerations, and the bloody knife was left in the car or something. The car was locked, and then it was, I forget how far he would have had to walk to the field, and his superior
well, that's
officer
kind of the
said,
game, isn't it? That they can just report whatever they want and get away with it because they're the authority, and most people just won't question if it comes from the news or the authorities. They'll just go along with it, even if it makes no sense.
Yeah, and then even when the FBI or all the government agencies came to the site, they knew there were 3 people still there, and they could be still alive, but they didn't search for them. They were searching for documents. And then something to do with the Clinton thing with the Iran-Contra. So when he was out of the presidency, all those documents were stored in that what's that building called, Murdoch or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I can't remember everything, but and then it just showed how they wanted to hurry up and implode the building. At first, they talked that they could save the building, but then they brought it down, and just like the guy says, narrating, that was the end of they destroyed everything now, the evidence, and nobody, even the Timothy McVeigh's, well, he was a CIA operative pretty much, and they probably just turned on him, used him as a patsy, set him up, and but yeah, he worked for the CIA. And that one guy from Germany, they even let him go. He went back to Germany, and then, like one of the victims said, when they didn't interview him till he was back in Germany, and just asked him a few questions over the phone. And they were all seen in this town. I forget what part of Oklahoma it is. It's kind of a long name. I forget what it is. And so they think that's like where the CIA, was planning their operative things out of. But yeah, it's good. And I remember that man with the cowboy boots standing there. Nobody knew about Officer Reiki, and sad. So maybe you're lucky to get out of there alive. And then it showed how they, tap people's phones, some of the victims' phones, and but a lot of the victims don't believe the narrative, so it's too bad. And that's probably why they don't want you on the memorial. They don't want anybody around. I'm sure those were FBI agents that threatened you, just like they threatened all those other people back then.
Yeah.
And, the one guy got pulled off the grand jury because he's asking too many questions. And they said, it's only the foreman that can do that. And he said, no, it isn't. We all can ask these questions. And, so yeah, it's good. I saw Denise posted that about the documentary. So then I went and looked it up. And at first I thought, well, how am I going to find it? Because I saw YouTube is taking it down, and Amazon's taken it down. Like you could have watched it on your Amazon Prime, but it says it's not available anymore.
Right.
And then I just kept scrolling, and I found that whatever I said it was, UV or whatever. So now they sent me a thing to, like be a member, but I don't know if there's a fee for it. I didn't have to pay anything, so I just ignored it. But yeah, I would watch it. It's a lot of information there.
Yeah. I did watch it. So I mean, we had Chris Emery come out and meet us. Somehow he knew, that I was going to be there. So Chris Emery's actually going to do next week's TFR show. So the guy who's the narrator for that film, he's going to be on next week's TFR episode.
Oh, good.
sharing information.
Yeah. How old is he now? I can't remember seeing him on your videos when you were in Oklahoma. He was younger.
He's probably a little bit younger than you, so.
Yeah, well, he looks younger when he was talking on the documentary, but maybe.
The film's from 2011, so that, you know, he's 10 years older now.
And it just shows how they do that to create fear, strip rights, you know. And then the next thing was 9/11. So, yeah. All those kids and stuff died for. Oh, and then the one thing was they, you know, all the coroners that were called there, they had an extra leg that didn't match. You know, they had all the bodies and they had some were dismembered, but there was 8 missing, like, legs or whatever, but they had 9 legs.
The extra legs from a prostitute.
Yeah. And they wanted, you know, the government just wanted that coroner to sign off or, like, ignore that, but he wouldn't do it.
Right.
And to cover it up so, yeah, he did a good job, that man, Mr. Emery. So I would encourage everybody to watch it. And, you know, I tried calling the museum again. I think I'll call the FBI again.
Well, what's the name of the thing you used again to watch it? What's it called? Tubi?
Yeah, Tubi.
Okay.
When I looked it up, you know, on Google, you know, first it says it's not available on Amazon. It's been censored off of YouTube, and you just kept scrolling. And then I found that Tubi thing, so I clicked on it, and then it just said register. I put my email in, and pretty soon it started going. And I got to watch it. At first, it was like a lot of commercials. And I thought, oh God, I hope I don't have to go through this for the whole thing. And maybe you get a few more interruptions during it, but they're not as long as the first set of commercials they throw at you. But yeah, it was worth it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So next week we'll have him on. We'll hear from him himself, Chris Emery.
Will I get the link? I don't see links showing up, even though I'm subscribed.
Well, they don't give out a lot of notifications, but again, the show, he's going to be on right at the start of the show next week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern. So,
can you send me a notice, like right before you go on, or the day he's coming on, so I'll watch for it?
Yeah, but if you can just remember 6 p.m. next Wednesday, that's when.
On Gematria 25, or where are you?
Assuming the channel's not suspended by next week, but yeah, that's where it should be.
Then I search for it, 23, 24, 22?
Right, exactly.
Okay. All right, well, let you go. And,
all right. Love you. Have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Mama Hubbard. So, A Big Lie is really a noble lie. The film is like 2 hours and 54 seconds long, which I noticed too. I was like, wow, it's almost 2 hours and 1 minute. So it does round to 2 hours and 1 minute. It is interesting. Chris Emery is not the producer of the film. He's the narrator. He helped with the research, and he's the narrator. He also didn't name the film. The man who has the credits for the film as the executive producer, he named the film, which is also interesting because a noble lie does equal 168, like the amount dead, and you know, it makes you wonder. Let's see, we got a call from 469. 469, you're on. 469. Hello.
Hey Zach, it's Mookie in the chat, man.
What's up, Mookie? Thanks for the super chats.
Yeah, no problem, bro. I'm really submerged in your knowledge right now. Told the chat I was kind of nervous to get up here because, you know, with Zach, you got to be on point. So just got to freaking breathe, man. Like, damn, I'm up here. It's GematriaEffectNews.
You sound great.
But for real, though, what I wanted to call in to talk about is you was talking about yesterday, it was like you were talking about the Oklahoma bombing, and you were kind of diverting off to, you know, moving away from all the corruption in America. You were talking about, you know, getting property in Alabama, Detroit. You remember kind of what I'm talking about?
Uh-huh.
Well, okay, so I was coming up with so many thoughts last night. I was like, dang, you know, he has a great plan, and I see Gematria is, like, connected with everything. So when I joined some of your group chats, and I think it's find free truth, something of that nature. You know, like, I ain't gonna lie, I'm subscribed on every link, like at the bottom of your stuff. So like, I see everything. So like the crypto group chat, you know, Texas, you got all the states and whatnot. But what I see in the Gematria, you know, lore is a lot of, you know, people saying that they can predict the stock market through Gematria as well as crypto. And, you know, we have the sports betting lane. And I was thinking, if everybody with those capabilities, you know, the skilled decoders come together and like, you know, have a certain level of Patreon per se, you know, something where you can, you know, pay a certain amount to be on this team per se. And yeah, it'd be a pretty penny because, you know, you spend most of your time, well, maybe not most of your time, you know, I know you write books and whatnot, but, you know, a good chunk of your time with these Patreon subscribers who, you know, want to build capital for the next movement. You know, we're talking about getting more people within, you know, the group settings such as Oklahoma. I'm from Dallas, by the way, so, you know, I hate that I missed that you came down here. And, like, you know, I get that, but I'm saying there are people within your community that are saying they're making a pretty good penny from sports betting, crypto, and manipulating the stock market with this information. So if we was to get, you know, those key people together to teach, you know, the ones who want to know more, such as myself, because I've been decoding sports games for the last week, and oh shoot, my girlfriend's calling. She gotta go.
Uh-oh.
That's the point. No, forget that. I've been trying to call in for a minute, but she keeps fucking calling. Anyway, that's the point. We just need to get everybody together because, like, I see the benefits in it. I'm making money doing it, and like, I'm happy that, you know, this knowledge can be used to put some money in my pocket. But if we're talking about, you know, really, you know, sticking it to the Jesuit scum, I mean, trust me, they got the money, the power of censorship, all of that. So the only reason that we could go out and do our own thing is if we get our talents that are, you know, which is in decoding this damn script, we get all our talents together to be able to go to Alabama or go to Detroit, get that property. Because, shoot, I want to be one of them subscribers where I can put up a whole bunch of money. That's why I got my little nighttime job, and I got my, you know, when I watch you go live, you know, I've been watching you for a minute, but this is where I started taking it real serious and trying to implement the knowledge into my everyday life. So, you know what I'm saying? What do you think about that? I know I've been talking a lot. I had to get that nervousness off.
Well, no, I think it's absolutely on point. And again, if a community did come together and, you know, the focus was, you know, on strengthening the community, making sure the shelter's taking care of the food with the extra time, absolutely put our minds together and do better than we've ever done before. For example, decoding sports or the stock market. Or, you know, I mean, honestly, if you have a group of people working towards a cause, I mean, you could also grow some kind of cash crop too. I mean, there's all sorts of things that could be done, but absolutely. And again, if you had a community all dedicated to the same cause, things would go far. So I completely agree.
Yeah. But I mean, like the cause is like, you know, what we be doing on an everyday basis when we're waiting on, you know, News 25 to drop. Like literally, I ain't gonna lie to you. Sometimes I try to wait for you to post before I make a sports decode because, like, man, I bet it on that damn Mavericks versus Jazz game, and it was. I thought that you were talking about the game on April 26th, I think it was, but you really did the one on April 25th. So I was all like, it was Jazz over the Mavs, and I picked the Jazz, and then the Mavs won, and I was like, God dang. So.
I didn't put out any information for futures on that. I was just saying how the ritual was on the 113th day of the year with the Utah coming back, and then Orrin Hatch died that day. So I didn't really look at the games ahead, but
nah, I feel you. But that's one thing that I feel like you should do as a Patreon subscriber, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Like, I really want to see your face over there. I know it's $5. It's a measly $5, but I'm trying to show through the community, man, that.
Oh, like, sure. I mean, I will get back on there. It's just, you know, I because I was traveling on the road for the last 2 weeks and just trying to get caught up with everything. I, you know, haven't done any sports since, you know, pretty much right after the March Madness tournament. So, but I will come back. Yeah, indeed.
Nah, for real. And, we can't wait for your return. But, shoot, I'm just saying, like, get with me. I have ideas that really just needs the expertise of a genius like yourself. You know what I'm saying? I give my praise to the knowledge that you're putting out there. And like you said, ABC 1, 2, 3 is easy. But the way you go about it, man, it's just like, you can't help not to learn. But the point is, we need to build a corporation up out of this. Not like something that's just ran by, them. We know them, but just something that's solely based off us, get the best decoders to teach these group of people and these group of people that actually do want to learn, that are within this community. Advertise the fact of making that money, 35 Thursday. We already know it, but like a lot of people aren't doing it. A lot of people just watching this shit for fun. I'm saying that we do something real about it, get people's eyes turned. They always love looking at a dollar bill. Wait, you making money off this shit and y'all cause us to get away from all this fucked up shit that you're talking about in your videos every day? Well, goddamn it, shit, I'll join. Like, but it needs to be something in place. And like, I talked about it in the Find Your Truth thing, and like, nobody on Patreon like talks to me. So that's why I've been trying to get in here, man. I just want to see, what do you think like we could do if you could talk to me like about it. That's all I'm saying. If we could have a meeting, me and you, about it, because I already know what you think. You told me that, but if me and you could talk about it, how about that?
Yeah, I hear all the ideas you're saying, and yeah, I will get back on the Patreon. So you're welcome to call me again when it's not on the show, and I know your girlfriend's waiting on you too. But yeah, I will get back on Patreon, and we will be doing sports again soon. So.
Okay, well, shoot, I'm gonna call you.
All right, man. You take care, Mookie. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For people who are anxious for me to get back on and do Patreon and sports, I will. Again, it's just because it's been super busy. A lot of driving, a lot of pavement pounding, and trying to get caught up with everything that I got behind on while I was gone. But yeah, I mean, the other part of me is, after all these years of doing sports, I'm also just, in a way, there's other people out there in the community doing it. I kind of almost just want to retire from doing sports too. I'm just kind of like burnt out on doing sports. So, donation for Denise. Okay. Hey, Denise hasn't reached out to me. Denise, if you do need anything, you got my number. Poor Denise. She got picked on by the police at the airport on the way to Oklahoma City. Let's go out to, speaking of Minneapolis. Minneapolis is calling in. 612.
Hey, Zach. This is Jason. How's it going?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long time since I talked to you. I got your chili oil about to go here soon, too, by the way.
Okay.
I made it a little bit more mild, so you and both sweet lady will like it. But got some hot sauce I'm going to send you, and some seasoning and stuff, too. So, anyway. So, hey, man, you were saying you wanted to find out about where there might be like a trident in Oklahoma City.
Right.
Well, I found one, and it's a lot like Dealey Plaza. So if you want to pull up a map, look up Northeast 27th Street and North Lincoln Boulevard. And the whole, like, thing here, it looks kind of like a human head, It's got, like, clover leaves on the side, and they look like ears. It just looks like a human head with, like, a needle stabbing into it. And what's interesting about it is it's the education department is right there, like right in the top of what would be the head.
Yeah, I see that. I got the map up here. I mean, it definitely does come to like a trident. That's interesting.
Yeah, and not only that, but check this out. North N, like it's listed on that map, N as in north, N, Lincoln Boulevard, matches Oklahoma City in all 4 ciphers, just like the Syndicate matches in all 4 ciphers. Direct Energy matches in 3 of the 4 ciphers.
Huh. Okay.
And now when you think about it, you look at that, it looks like a needle stabbing down into a head. And the education department is right there. And the historical center is right next to it.
Yeah, that is definitely interesting. Well, you must have been just going over the town on the maps and then you spotted it?
You know what? I looked at the map and I just kind of zoomed in a little bit on my cell phone, just messing around a couple days ago. And I zoomed in and just kind of was just scrolling across the map. And I'm like, damn, that looks like a head right there. And I'm like, holy shit, there's a trident, And then when I zoomed in, I saw the education department is right there. And then, you know what? Not only that, but check this out. Let's see here. I know I got this somewhere here on my phone. Or I did. If you type out NE, like Northeast, NE, and then the words 27th Street as words, and then and North, the whole word, Lincoln Boulevard, the whole word Boulevard, it equals 201.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
So the only abbreviation would be the NE, like Northeast. But if you type out 27th Street and North Lincoln Boulevard, all in words, it equals 201.
Huh. Yeah, that is interesting. Huh.
So, yeah. But, and I have another thing, man. Since I haven't talked to you for a long time, I mean, this is really stale, and I don't know if your listeners want to listen to it and all that, but I got a decode on a sports game that proves through and through how, like, way in advance all this stuff is planned out.
Okay.
And I could, like, give you the quick rundown of it if you want, but it proves that all, like, the NFL games, they're all scripted way, like, years in advance. And this decode proves it through and through because, Kevin Stefanski, right? He's the coach of the Browns. Well, he used to work with the Vikings. He was on the Vikings payroll for like 14 years, working his way up through the ranks. And then he ended up getting hired on as the Browns coach, right?
Okay.
So during his time there, and he's a Jesuit, by the way. He went to St. Joseph's in Philadelphia. So he's a Jesuit, no doubt about it. And so, like, when he was with the Vikings or somewhere along those lines, he scripted a game, or somebody scripted a game around him and his future, because while he was with the Vikings, they played the Cleveland Browns. And now, the last time that they played the Browns, up until just last season when they played the Browns, it was like 4 years later or whatever, it was 205 weeks on the nose since the two teams had played. And the Vikings, they happened to be sitting on 496 wins. You know what that number is. It's a perfect number.
Right,
if you type out perfect number, it equals 205. And it was exactly 205 weeks since the two squads played each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not only is 496 a perfect number, it's also the 31st triangular number. The game was played just this last season, 31 weeks before Stefanski's upcoming birthday. And when the Browns won, they became 3-1. The Vikings became 1-3. The date of the game was October 3rd, 10-3, like one, get rid of the zero. So the game was 31 weeks before, the Browns go 3-1. 31, the 31st triangular number is 496. So the Vikings stayed on 496 wins. But if you look at what perfect number also equals, it also equals 146. So when the Browns won that game, they became 14, or Stefanski became 14-6 as a head coach.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then the final score of the game was 14-7 Browns. Well, guess what? That told me, well, the Browns are going to lose next week because Stefanski just became 14-6, and they just won 14-7. So that means he's going to be 14-7 next week as a coach, and he was. Not only that, but the Browns and the Vikings all time. The Vikings were 11-4 all time against the Browns. And so if they lost, they would become 14-5. Well, what's interesting about that is, remember when the Browns up and moved to Baltimore? Remember that, Zach? You're old enough to remember that. And, you know, God, you're way old enough to know that, as me, you know, whatever. But a lot of the listeners might not remember all that. But the Browns up and left, and they didn't have a team in Cleveland for, what was it, like 4 years, whatever. And then they got reincarnated. Well, the Browns were sitting at 114 wins, the reincarnated Browns, from like 99 or whatever on. They had 114 wins. Well, when they won that game, they would have 115 wins, as they would also be, the Vikings would be 11-5 against the Browns all time.
Okay.
And if you type out October 3rd, it matches really closely with perfect number 65 and 70. It also, October 3rd, matches 187 with Society of Jesus 187, because Stefanski's the Jesuit. Let's see, Minneapolis, Minnesota, 237 and 93. You know about 93 in Minnesota, Minneapolis. But 205 weeks spelled out is 237 and 93.
Sure. And earlier when you brought up the 147, again, that's Freemason, and American football has credited the Freemason Walter Camp. And until they moved the season to 17 games, it was 147 days the season. But, yeah, I mean, there's so many examples to prove. And it's not just sports that are scripted way out in advance. It's just like the news stories. It's like when they had that Oklahoma City Jennifer Flowers sex affair with Bill Clinton, you know they had the bomb ready to go off in Oklahoma City too. I mean, that's how sick it is. So
right. And so yeah, and then the date numerology on this game of the Browns and Vikings was 54. The last time they played 205 weeks earlier, the date numerology was 56. So it's like they not only planned out Stefanski's career, the beginning of his coaching career, but they knew when they were doing it how many wins the Vikings franchise would have 4 years earlier. You know, it's like, how do you plan all this and have it all scripted that tight unless they knew that the Vikings were going to be sitting on 496 wins when the Browns and Vikings were to meet in 2021? I mean, they had to know how many wins there was going to be, and they had to know it was going to be a perfect number. And they had the perfect number, you know, the words perfect number, that equals 205. The game was scheduled 205 weeks after their last meeting. I mean, all of these things had to align, and that means that, I mean, it's proof right there that everything was known 4 years earlier at least.
And again, I mean, for people who are listening who don't really understand, all the world of sports is scripted this way, and it's how the rituals are perfect day after day. I mean, there's a gazillion examples like what he's sharing, from football to NBA to MLB. You pay attention to the numbers. You see the rituals that are performed. It's undeniable that they have all this stuff scripted out. And that's why you got players sitting out with fake injuries to make the rituals line up. It's just undeniable when you pay attention. So, anyhow, I appreciate it, Jason.
And then the NBA.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'll let you go. Let another caller come in, but expect a package here in the next couple of weeks.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
So,
Thank you.
All right, man.
All right,
Talk to you later.
Yeah, take care. 310.
Oh, hold on. Let me turn it down. Do you hear me well?
I hear you. What's going on?
Mother Hubbard went to the cupboard and pulled out a can of Truth Soup. I love it.
Indeed.
That was awesome. I just had a couple things that I'll mention. I heard a little bit of Rambo, and then I missed like an hour and a half. But Rambo was talking about the Osiris connection.
Hold on. Before you start, it's just coming back from the commercial break. Just let it do this thing, and then we'll get right into it. 1 second.
Let me know when.
All right, we're back, and it is the final 30 minutes, and I do believe we have DK Stonewood on the line. So, what were you saying, friend?
Yeah, I was just saying I want to throw a little bit on top of what Rambo was saying about the Osiris situation. So, that ancient story goes, Osiris's brother Setaniel, or Set for short, killed Osiris and then took away his son Horus's eye, which is, his one eye, which they show you in the movie Gods of Egypt, but that symbolizes the pineal gland. And then, they killed Osiris and chopped him up into the 14 pieces, and the one they couldn't find was his dick. And this is just, obviously that's not, what they did, but it's allegory for them manipulating the human race and making us unable to reproduce for a short time till they were able to figure out how to take away our pineal gland, so the rest of the people that would repopulate the earth, kind of like how it was said after the flood, would all be spiritually blind and deaf, which means we wouldn't have full usage of our pineal gland, which is symbolized by the knowledge of good and evil technology and that Apple missing the bite on it on the back of your phone and computer. So I was just trying to maybe give maybe a timeline for this, because people think Egypt, they're thinking 5,000 years ago, what we've been told in our dum-dum school system. So we have three major periods, I would say, for Egypt. The most recent one would be after the flood and all these dynastic Egyptian pharaohs and all that, and after Egypt had basically been taken over by evil, we would call that the most recent. Then before that, you had just after the flood times, let's just say the flood was 12,000 years ago. All these historians and researchers and anthropologists, archaeologists say it was 11,900 years or something, and it's the time of the age, the full age is the 25,900, and in, halfway is 12,850 or something like that. So they say we're coming up on that time again right now. Anyhow, and then you had the time before the flood when Egypt was still above water, when Atlantis was still above water, and Atlantis was kind of taken over by evil, and then Thoth had seen that was going on, so he wanted to take the knowledge somewhere else to preserve it, and he went east in the Mediterranean, and the furthest east you hit in the Mediterranean, you'll hit Egypt. So that's why the pyramids and stuff were all there. Then before that, you have this time of Osiris, Isis, Horus, and all that. So we're talking about most likely more than 75,000 years ago when the Earth was tilted. So that 23.5 degree tilt started somewhere there around 75,000 years ago. I'm starting to think it's probably 72,000. So based on their numerology. So this is stuff that went on as as like Atlantis was actually being taken over, because these are Atlantean stories, not Egyptian stories. Egypt was part of the greater Atlantean Empire at the time. It was just Atlantis. Basically, what happened is Atlantis was taken over through the spiritual center, and it started being turned evil, and they started doing all kinds of genetic manipulation, and they were trying to create like the best slave race. So they were merging humans with all kinds of work animals like horses and bulls. That's where you get all these like minotaurs and centaurs, because you get a workhorse. So you got a human being and they got 4 legs, they could work a lot harder than they can with with just 2. So then, in the Bible it talks about that was like that was a perversion of God, of the original Elohim seeding of the Adam Cadman being, or the what ends up being called Adam for us, the original human being with a fully activated pineal gland living around 1,000 years before all the manipulation. So these stories with like Osiris and these are kind of just like allegories of human manipulation when our lifespans were shortened, when down in the Zulu, their Anunnaki story is that these beings came down and they basically enslaved them, and then they genetically manipulated them at first to be androgynous so they couldn't reproduce, and then they manipulated their psychology, and once they got them dumbed down to a level where they liked, then they made them back to male and female so they could reproduce. And their story goes, there was 2 caves right next to each other, and everybody was going single file, and each other person went into the different cave, and when they came out of the left side cave, they had something hanging down between their legs, and the ones that came out of the right side cave had bumps on their chest. So it's like they were making male and female again. So like these stories have like been kind of like allegorized over and over on top of each other, where we've kind of lost the like original meaning, and now it's like we have Sun and Set and all these names that we don't like, we've lost the original meaning. What else? Oh, you know what? I want to make a little correction from Sunday show. We were talking about the just your trip going to Oklahoma City and Dallas, and I was talking about the Judy Berry Baker story, which is a Dallas story, not a Oklahoma City story. But I forgot my complete punchline on that story was during the 60s, if you look at the vaccine schedule, the vaccines were getting ramped up right after, on top of all the other things that were going on in the 60s. They were ramping up vaccine schedules at the time, and so they wanted to put something in the vaccines that was going to, start causing cancer, like, through the roof. And if you look at the cancer rates since then. So anyway, this cancer, this fast-acting cancer that Judy Berry Baker, the one that, had the affair with Oswald, that she discovered, ended up going into the next, generation of vaccines, which was called the SV40 virus, simian virus 40. Simian is a monkey. So remember we talked about how they were getting tumors out of monkeys and then centrifuging them and, subjecting them to different electromagnetic fields and injecting it back into a monkey, let another tumor grow, and just kept going on and building on there. But that went into a lot of the vaccines that were people coming into Ellis Island. So there was people who have been dying of cancer for the last about 10, 15 years, like at a ridiculous percentage. One of my friends' dad came through Ellis Island and died from that vaccine. So, he kind of went through and researched. So I thought, look at the percentage of these people that came through Ellis Island that are getting cancer, So they were also doing this post-World War II, like kind of towards the end of World War II, the United States had a bunch of camps set up all around the world for all these refugees. My family was in Egypt at the time from Croatia because we got, pushed off by the Mussolinis, basically, the Nazis from Italy at the time. So, my dad ended up being born in Egypt because of it, and then didn't get back to, they weren't able to go back home till it was like 5 years old. So they spent like 5 years, in refugee camps in other countries that were all set up by the U.S. military, and it was all to vaccinate, So they were the first generation that got vaccinated. Everybody else, like his other brothers and sisters that were older that lived on the island, they never even got vaccinated. You know, they were just born at home. I mean, maybe you would have the luxury of having the midwife come out while you're giving birth, but you know, everything was still natural, so they needed to push all those people off the land and you know, kind of, you're not just going to bring a vaccine clinic onto the island or in a village. People wouldn't do it. If you push them off their land and, you know, it's a war, then a lot of things change. So yeah, they lied to Judy Berry Baker and told her she was making a cancer to kill Castro, when in reality she was making a cancer to kill Americans. And Oswald probably lied to her about a lot of stuff. You know, had an affair with a 19-year-old chick in college while he's, you know, working for the CIA as a runner. Was probably, I forgot how old he was when he died. Was he in his 30s or 40 or something?
Who's that?
Oswald.
I'd have to double check. I'm not exactly sure. So.
Yeah. So this is, you know, if you line all those stories up, you can see like it all fits. And then I think I may have already said this before. The reason that, you know, Neptune, who holds a tuning fork, you know, so another proof that it's a vibrational device. That's all I got written down right here from what I was just listening. I got my other notes at my house, so I don't even know what else I wanted to say from the Sunday show, but we'll just leave it for another time.
Okay. Lee Harvey Oswald was 24 when he died, reportedly.
24, there you go.
24.
So there you go. So what, a couple of years before, you know, 22-year-old, he's 22, he's having an affair with, you know, another 19-year-old. I don't know why they called it an affair. Was he married? Why would they call that an affair?
That I would have to check. He had children. I'm not sure if he was married. Yeah, it says he was married to Marina Oswald Porter.
Yeah, so that's why it was an affair. Okay. Yeah. I remember, I haven't heard the Judy Berry Baker stuff seriously in like 8 years since like Ole Damagard was interviewing her, and, you know, I kind of just have those stories in the back of my mind. So the details come out as soon as you start thinking about it. Yeah. So that's what that was. I don't know if the dude's dead. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. You know, who knows? I would give that one a 50-50. But one thing that I had in mind to ask you, like, so if we look at all these different, like, false flags that you decode, like 9/11, the one you just went out to, Oklahoma City, and then like, where would you rank these? Like, would you say 9/11 is like the granddaddy number 10, the JFK is like a 9, Oklahoma City maybe like an 8 or a 7? Like, how would you put these in order? Like, what's the most important, and then going down from there, from your perspective?
Well, honestly, I don't know if any of them are more important than another one. I mean, they all have the same parallels, right? They're all lies. They're all federal government cover-ups, and they've all helped create the narrative of the path we're now on. I mean, it's kind of like they're all, in a way, they're all equal, I would say, and they all have the same qualities. I guess you could say there was the most consequences from 9/11 because probably the most people died from that, and it started a war that lasted 20 years that's really still ongoing, so... Well, yeah, I mean,
and counting.
Yeah, they're all related, so I mean, they're all equally evil.
Yeah, I mean, true. I was just like, when I talk to, you know, just like people that are like half woke that come ask me stuff, they know I'm the resident, you know, conspiracy researcher. So, you know, I kind of tell them, I'm like, well, when you look at some of these things, they seem apparently so small, but, you know, it's still in the mix. You're looking at things like 9/11, which is like, you know, like a big 10 on the Richter scale, you know, but some of these smaller things, they actually fit in, and, you know, it's all just like puzzle pieces. Kind of like when I'm trying to explain it to normies that are somewhat, you know, waking up, they can see, like, you know, they're on the path like your mom is, you know?
Right. Indeed.
Anyhow, that's all I have here from what I heard this show. I only heard maybe 45 minutes so far, so I don't even know what you guys talked about.
Just a little bit of everything, like always. But I always appreciate you weighing in, and I imagine we'll hear from you on the Sunday night show.
Yeah, I got one question for you. Where can I find the situation that happened to the Denise woman? Because I was trying to go back and look at that, and like I just want to hear her talk about it. Where was that exactly?
Well, she did just call in to the live stream I did this weekend, and I forget exactly where in the stream it was, but long story short, she had a layover in Minneapolis, flying to Oklahoma City from Ohio, and then her flight got delayed 3 hours, so she went to the bar and had a couple martinis, and then when she went back to the gate to check in to get on her flight, when it was about time, a cop came over and put hands on and essentially threw her in cuffs and drug her out of the airport and put her in a jail cell for a full day. She was in there for 25 hours. And then the weird thing is, they released her from the cell. You can look at the report online. They released her from the cell at 56 minutes after the hour, and they set her court date for her 56th birthday. So it's like, what is going on? But
that's, did you know that like once you know how like when you go in an airport and you cross past like the security point, it's not like you're not even in the country anymore. You're like in like some limbo zone. Like it's not even like international waters. It's kind of like being in international waters. You know that?
I didn't realize that. So
yeah, so it's like I don't know if it would have to be airport police. I have a friend who's airport police. Like regular cops don't go into the airport because they don't have any jurisdiction there. So yeah, that's really weird. So they may, I was going to say contact a constant, like what's the charge? It may even be able to get thrown out, but like, let's just say the fine is like, something absurdly cheap, like it's like $180 fine. Would you go spend $10,000 on a lawyer to fight $180 fine? That may be kind of dumb, but as far as suing them for, violating your rights and stuff on the backside of that, that's a whole nother issue. And it's easier to find attorneys to do that because there's money involved, whereas defending you, they're not going to defend you for free because if they win, you don't get any money. You don't get your punishment or your fine or your whatever else they're going to levy on you. So there's some things to look into there as far as that. If she's already crossed the checkpoint, like once you get in, there's what kind of cop was that? You know what I mean? That was probably just a total scam what they did to her, like fake cops. FBI agent dressed as a cop, or who knows? They don't even have jurisdiction in airports. So I've never seen LAPD even on the street in front of LAX. It's always airport police. And then in the back where the Lakers and the Clippers and the Kings are all getting on the plane, they don't even go through security. My friend actually works back there because he's formerly played in the NFL or whatever. So they stuck him back where other professional athletes are coming through. They don't go through any checkpoints or anything, but they'll get a call and, they'll have to drive around the airport's enormous. So, if they take them 10, 15 minutes to get there, there's all kinds of airport police stationed all over. That's really weird. I'm going to try to go back and look at that. The Sunday show is 3.5 hours long. So I'm going to try to see if I can find her call and listen to that story, like word for word from her. Cause that sounds super peculiar to me right off the bat.
Yeah, when I say it was this weekend show, I don't think it was the Sunday show. I think it was the one I did on Oklahoma City that was just under 3 hours long, and somewhere in there is her call. So.
Oh, like one of your regular streams that ended up going long?
Yeah, it's definitely about Oklahoma City, and she calls probably somewhere in the middle of it. So.
Okay, I'll look for that then.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like she got, she's basically getting, underhanded federal agents messing with her, like what's happening to you. I don't know why they would pick on her though. Why would? Like,
well, the weird thing is that her name, Denise, equals 56, and then, they put her in a jail cell, and they released her at 56 minutes after the hour, and then they set her court date for her 56th birthday of all days, so it's like,
Oh, so you're saying they went as far as just used her in a ritual?
It's what it looks like. It looks like they made a ritual out of her.
Wow.
So.
Man, you're making a mark. Your reputation precedes you now everywhere you go. So yeah, like you said, maybe that guy shouldn't put a billboard up in New York. Who knows what'll happen to his house?
Yeah, seriously, I really do appreciate it, and it could help out the work a ton, but I do worry about him promoting the work in Times Square. I just feel like could make him a target, so.
Yeah, definitely. All right, man. Well, thanks for taking the call, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Yeah, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Yeah, take care. Yeah. I do worry about other people, because there has been some stuff that's happened since I got into this work. 818.
Hi, Zach. How are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. You did a fantastic job in Oklahoma. I called in to the museum multiple times because I have family that came out of Oklahoma. My grandmother did. And we are Native Americans, so I basically told them that what they were doing by silencing speech was, akin to what they had done with, like, the Trail of Tears and multiple things. They don't have a record to stand on. And it was, really disgusting how they treated you. And I was appalled. And actually, I have never been to Oklahoma, but I have ties to that land. We actually have mineral rights from my grandmother's farm, and that the oil has been stolen multiple times. They found ways where they can drain the oil from, another plot of land, and there's a lot of legal issues that go on in Oklahoma that are very unscrupulous. But what I was calling about to let you know was that in the money, there's a guy named Jonathan Kleck who's decoded money, and the Oklahoma City bombing was on the $20 bill. If you fold it into a pentagram shape, the $20 bill from 1985 until 1998, it shows the Oklahoma City bombing on the money before the Oklahoma City bombing actually took place. And also in New York, where the next big event is supposed to take place based on our money, is the new $20 bills, when you fold them into that pentagram shapes that show a tsunami. And then when you turn the money over, it shows a bomb entering the water. And they also have 9/11 on the money before that, too, as well. Which is have you seen the 9/11 money where you can see the towers going down and you turn it over and it's the Pentagon? Have you seen that?
I think I have, yeah.
So basically, the interesting thing about what the Neptune tie is, there is Neptune in the water. There is the Neptune spear, and there is a face of a man right off of the coast of Manhattan, and it comes out of something called Sandy Hook Trench.
Huh.
So they have a Sandy Hook Trench, and you have a face of a man. Actually, it looks like Trump, to be honest. It's really bizarre. But there is a spear of Neptune, which goes along with what Rambo was always saying about the 9/11 Neptune, in their museum and whatnot. So it's very interesting. It's very sick.
Huh. Interesting. Well,
but what's interesting about that Oklahoma City bombing money is it was very easy to find on the internet prior to you going to Oklahoma City. I cannot find it because I was looking and searching and trying to find it, and everything that has been scrubbed. So you can't even find that money anymore on the internet that was totally available up until you were going.
Huh. It's funny that you said it was on the bill that started in 1985, because again, that's when there was a raid by the feds on the camp in April 19th, 1985, 10 years to the day, that got the man arrested, Richard Snell, who tried to blow up the building supposedly in 83, and then he was put to death on April 19th, 95, the day the building did blow up. But 85 was the year that happened. So funny that they would encode the dollar or the $20 bill that year with their plans. And again, I mean, it really does all make sense. So.
And what's interesting to note is that I think that the current $10 bill and the current 20 and the current 100. So the current 20 and the current 100 have like a tsunami going over buildings that look very New Yorkish. They're the same height, but the $10 bill shows the Hoover Dam breaking. So the guy, Jonathan Kleck, who did the decode, speculates that they're going to happen at the same time. But it's just, they're on the money. I'm going to look for it some more and try to email it to you, but it was scrubbed. It's very hard to find. I've been looking because it's on the money. Like even 9/11, the fact that it's on the money, and when you turn it over, it is the Pentagon, and when you turn it the other side, it is the Twin Towers coming down. It's like how, like that alone is just like when you absorb the information, because people look at it, as parlor tricks, and they just want to go, oh yeah, that's kind of interesting, but they don't absorb it. Like, what the hell is this?
Well, there's so many different ways to show people how sinister their plans and their plots are. And again, I mean, there's a million different ways to prove it, but they are planning our future and all the sick rituals along the way. And so I'm going to go back and look for that, though, because I don't think I've seen it myself, but I don't doubt that it's true. I've seen the other stuff on the bills, and it's very interesting. So.
And then the other thing just to note is this Yuval Harari, who is, out of Jerusalem, out of the Hebrew University out of Jerusalem. There's a 5-minute clip that you can still find, but he does discuss that humans are worthless and they're being, basically kind of downgraded, and they're just going to give us drugs and computer games while we're kind of waiting out our time. And this guy is really disgusting, but what he's saying is true. And Bill Gates has, given a kudos to this guy, and as well as Bezos and Zuckerman. But also, if you go back and look at something on YouTube, they have something, I think it was 2045. It's out of Russia, but it was a transhumanist movement. And I found this in 2012. And they showed that humans were obsolete and they were slow, and they were going to go into these avatar robot bodies, and they were going to transplant the consciousness into these, bodies. And I said to my friends, I go, that's not going to be everybody. That's going to be rich people. Not that they can do this. I don't even believe they can do it. But the point is currently that Yuval Harari said, the one thing that the poor people have always found comfort in is that death was the great equalizer, that everybody died. But that will no longer be true. And how are they going to deal with the poor people when the rich people continue to live and they're continually dying, the poor people? And it's just like these people are so sick. I mean, I am married to a Jewish man, and I have a lot of Jewish people around me. And I'm like, you know what? Jews are Nazis. Because Yuval Harari is a Jew. So I'm like, Nazism is a mentality. It isn't an ethnicity. And I'm not going to give a free pass just because you're Jewish. If you're spouting Nazi ideals, you are a friggin' Nazi.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So
that's it. But yeah, I'm going to try and find that money for you, because that's unbelievable. And I can't believe that it was just scrubbed away. And again, I have my oldest son is 19, and I started questioning vaccines when he was little because he had a vaccine reaction. And when I started questioning it, there was so much information. That's how I ended up on YouTube, and that's why I ultimately led to you down the road. But there was so much information. But in about 2014, it all started getting scrubbed away. And then California, where I'm at, passed that law where you can't even get out of vaccines in the state. But they scrubbed the information a few years before they did that law. And most people just were like, oh, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. And it's like, people are just, they don't even look into things. But the information is not there like it was before in the past. You can't even find it.
Right. Yeah, that's a major problem with this day and age, all the censorship. But yeah, even before when it was there, people weren't looking into things, and now it's much harder to find those things that were there just 5-10 years ago. So anyhow, I really appreciate the call, and I look forward to you finding the information. I'll go out and look for it too to see if I can find it, because I'm curious now as well. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you later. But thank you for doing what you're doing. I mean, you have a lot of support, even not physically with you, that was behind you, and there was a lot of people, rooting for this because you're standing for all of us, and I appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you for being one of the supporters. All right, friend,
And
you have a good
all
night.
the people that came out. I also want to thank all of those wonderful souls that came out with you. They were beautiful.
Indeed.
And you had a beautiful group with you.
Indeed, absolutely. So, yeah, thank you to you and all of them as well. All right.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, you have a good night.
Good night.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
All right. I think we'll leave it there for now, Truth Seeker. It's funny, I guess I was just going on adrenaline for the trip because I hardly slept, but since I got back, I swear to God, I mean, I've been getting a good night's rest each day, but I still feel tired in the day, and I think it's because I hardly got any sleep for the whole week prior. But eventually I'll get my batteries recharged, so I don't think we'll do the overtime tonight. But yeah, there is a lot of content out there that was captured from Oklahoma City. Unfortunately, some of the best was censored, and that's because they didn't want people to see, the positive impact we had. But again, just take a good look at this photo right here. I mean, look at the diversity of the group. Look at the age differences. It was very cool. And again, I really think this should become an annual event. It's right in the heart of the country. It's where a major tragedy was committed. Well, it was a tragedy, but more like a major crime was committed by the federal government, covered up by the federal government. And again, people really need to think about this. The way we're taxed, the way we're lied to, how we're paying for these evil acts, and then how we're essentially made fun of if we look into it. We're given all these names and insults. We got to break this mind control that people are under, because we're going to a bad place real fast. And as I do say that we need to start gathering and doing this annually, the one thing that I worry about as I say that is like, do we have another year? Do we have another 2 years? Do we have 3 more years? I mean, obviously most of us will probably still be here, but when I say do we have that much more time, it's like, how much worse are things going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? And if you missed what we were just saying about Kamala Harris, remember, she has all these parallels with Herbert Hoover, and Herbert Hoover was the president when the Great Depression happened. So, a lot of people are already struggling to get by in terms of financial resources, and struggling to get by, that could become a lot worse for a lot of people as well. And again, that's why I've been saying for years that we need, it sucks that it's 7 years since I was really pushing for it. But in 2015, I was saying, come on, let's pool our resources together. Let's buy up Detroit. Let's fix up those dilapidated houses. Let's grow gardens. Let's have community. You got the Great Lakes there with the fresh water. The only downside about Michigan is it's got cold winters. But again, it might be better to do that in a warmer. That same idea could also work in a place like Alabama, where land's cheap and you can grow year round. But yeah, I know Jonathan's already down there in Alabama. He's got a house in Alabama, so maybe we all move into Jonathan's neighborhood. But yeah, we got to do something, you guys. We got to make a movement happen. We got to make community happen. We got to make a better world happen. And again, I mean, you see that girl with the Learn Gematria sign? She's only 19 years old. And I was thinking about that. I was like, man, she was about 10 years old when I started this work. And, it was just too bad, that her and all the other people her age, and really all of us, are just having to grow up in this world. So what's nice about that girl, though, holding that sign, though, is she just has like this big, nice, loving, bubbly personality, all full of knowledge. She's way ahead of her time. But yeah, I mean, I just, we got to make a better world for everybody, man. Not just ourselves, but really everybody else. So anyhow, we'll leave it there for tonight, Truth Seeker. I got to get to bed. I swear to God, I've been so tired all this week. But I know it's because I didn't sleep last week. So anyhow, let me make sure I said thank you to all the super chatters, too. Appreciate your donations. How do you say that? Vilonius, however you say it. Thank you, Zach. Have you watched Vaxxed 1 or 2? I don't think so. I don't think so. So I will have to look that up. Vaxxed, Part 1, Part 2. LAF with another super chat and another thank you. Kenley TV, we should buy XRP ISO 20022. Again, XRP's done about a gazillion 22 rituals, and XRP equals 22. I will be surprised if XRP doesn't make some big climb at this point. And they might be waiting till like the month of November, right? Master numbers 11 and 22. So, yeah, I got to do a lot more work on that. Honestly, though, personally, I mean, I don't know if it's the wrong strategy or not. Rather than stay financially ahead, I'm just more interested in pulling the resources we got and establishing a community. And I mean, again, there's people saying to do it in Mexico because there's no property taxes. But the thing about Mexico is you can't really defend yourself because you can't have guns. But the criminals have guns down there. And if it did end up being in Fallout World and things got ugly, I wouldn't like living in a world where the organized crime is, armed to the teeth and you got nothing. But Alabama, you do have property taxes there, but they're very low compared to most places. Again, 208, thank you, said donation for Denise. And Denise, again, if you need any help with anything, you be sure to reach out to me. And then Mookie wants me to get back on Patreon because he wants to win some sports bets, and he's trying to figure it out on his own, but he needs a little guidance. Again, you guys, I don't mind if you sign up for the other people who are doing it. Like, if you can't afford my Patreon and you want to sign up for, Victor's page or Itachi's page or, Rod's page or Martin might be taking a break right now, but somebody else's page, that's fine because these guys are doing sports every day. Yours truly, I mean, I am going to start doing sports again, but I got to admit, I'm just like burnt out on it, man. It's just like, I never got into this work to do the sports gambling thing. It's what most people took to, but again, I got into the work to wake people up to the agendas and why we needed to stop them. And it's late in the game, and again, I just there's a part of me that thinks like, God, we better get that community together, man. We better have a food source and people we can trust, because I'm worried things are going to get ugly sooner than later. So, anyhow, thank you to all the super chatters. I do appreciate the generosity, and let me see if there's any last second comments I need to read in the chat. Got the eyes on the chat. Jonathan's almost done with his book. I'm almost done with my book. A Skull and Bones ritual with the Milwaukee Brewers. They do a lot of those in baseball, especially when the Rangers are playing. I closed Skype. Let's save it for this weekend, because like I said, I want to crash. But sorry, I closed Skype. That's why I didn't see it. Somebody did ask me to cover these hockey-related deaths. There's 2 deaths in the world of hockey, and they're real quick to explain. I'll do that real quick before I sign off. Guy Lafleur died, who was known as the Flower, who played for the Montreal Canadiens for the majority of his career. Again, he was known as the Flower, and that nickname equals 112. Go figure, he dies on the 112th day of the year. And he dies at age 70 as someone who played for the Canadiens his whole career. And again, just in the most simple ciphers, the Flower 112, Canadian 70. So there's your first coincidence. And then right next to him, you have the death of Mike Bossy, which was 1 week earlier, on April 15th, and notice from his January 22nd birthday to his death was 83 days later. We know what 83 is, the murder number. Murder by Numbers came out in 83, but the thing was, he played for the New York Islanders, who won the Stanley Cup in 83. And then all these years later, he's dying 83 days after his birthday. And in light of him playing for the New York Islanders, he died right before the 39th anniversary of that Stanley Cup. And we know New York's 39. That also means it's 38 years and change since they won. And as we know, murder equals 83 and 38. So, and again, for the people out there who asked me to decode these things, I bet you if you would have decoded them, and there's probably a lot more to both of their deaths because I didn't look real deep. But you could have spotted that he died 83 days after his birthday, and his team won the Stanley Cup in '83. And I'm sure you could have spotted the Flower and Canadians thing too. After all, it wasn't the most simple cipher. So, but yeah, it's just this stuff's just par for the course. It goes on day after day, and I don't know. Again, I try not to be frustrated, but it is frustrating in light of it being the information age and still so few people knowing about this knowledge. But we do see progress. We did just see Jimmy Kimmel take a stab at Gematria the other night on his show, which I guess is a good thing. That means the word's getting out there more and more if they have to do a little comedy segment trying to make fun of it. But yeah, again, if you can make it to New York on September 11th this year, again, we got to gather and show, because just to make a point, Fake Mike Real News, I didn't know about his channel at the time, but they tried to have a rally last year at the World Trade Centers for the 9/11 anniversary, and he said it was real disappointing because only 20 people showed up. And he's part of a channel called, is it Auditing America? Is that what it's called? Auditing America. So he's part of this channel, so they promoted it on this channel that has over 200 and some thousand subscribers, and only 20 people showed up. And I mean, it's pretty disappointing, right? New York's a big city. There should be a lot of people that care about that day. So I know that we can get a lot more than 20 people out to New York. And again, sweet lady, she got a little bit apprehensive about the idea after she heard about how Denise got arrested at the airport. And again, I mean, I think the reason they did that to Denise is because they know we're going to tell the story. We got to put out the story that happened to Denise for full disclosure. Because I mean, they could do it to somebody next time too. And again, if you do want to come out to New York, maybe don't travel alone, and if possible, don't take the airplane. Maybe drive out there. And if you guys do drive safe. We did have a car accident on the way home from OKC. Not myself, but just one of the people who came out. He had a patch of black ice and went flying off the road. Thankfully, he's okay. His car got damaged. But again, whenever you're traveling, be safe. I mean, there are things to think about when you're traveling and moving across the country. But anyway, the point is, despite all the dangers and the risks and the threats, again, people do need to organize and assemble and show that, we're not going to let this stand. We're not going to let these lies go, we're not going to let them go on unquestioned. That there has to be a showing that there's a resistance to this. And again, if the whole world woke up to what was going on and paid attention and quit with all the cognitive dissonance, things would change. The reason things continue to go as they are, the reason the evil gang is allowed to continue to do what it does is because they know that, hey, we've been getting away with it for decades, so why not just do it again? I mean, so far there hasn't really been much of a pushback against us. That's got to change. So, and again, really, you guys, I mean, really, it's got to more than just, they got to be more than just called out. I mean, they need to be held accountable too. And it's only going to happen if there's enough people that are awake to the shenanigans. So we'll leave it there for now. Again, thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who hit the like. And yeah, until next time, True Seeker, have a good night. Or if you're in the other part of the world, have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.